one of the reasons that video is critical and should be in every single courtroom in every single case. Video and transparency of the courts is something I'm pretty passionate about. One, because I'm self-interested in making money off of them. Two, because it protects the people from judicial abuse or abuse by the state. And three, because it protects the citizenry from lies by people about the abuse of the state. You know what's actually could be really interesting about this is there could be people opting out of the public trial, the right to a public trial, because of the internet, not realizing like how bad it is to not have public trials.
Yeah, to have a what's that called, a bench trial, when it's just the judge.
Well, no, I mean even bench trials are public trials, but just having like them in closed doors or behind closed doors that's one of the things that we literally fought against England about, was the secret courts.
Hello, chat. Hi, everybody. Fancy seeing you here today. Interesting things to talk about. Just don't you know? Don't you know? Don't you know? And by the way, for some reason I couldn't get on right away. Were you guys here? Because I saw these clips going and I didn't know what they were, and I was like, whoa, what the heck? Why is Nick on screen? And why is he talking about cases and, transparency? I was really confused about that, and it looked like a younger Nick. One of those, actually, I'm pretty sure I was in. I think it was during the Johnny Depp trial. Well, c'est la vie, man. It's one of those funny things that happens, I guess, in life. It's one of those funny things. It's hello, everybody. Hope you are all doing well. Kurt over at Unsub Law. Hi, Sean. Kurt, hello. I hope you're having a great day, sir. Hope you're taking care of yourself, doing well. Guys, Kurt over at Unsub Law, friend of the show. Good all around guy. Helping, keeping it down, holding it down in Tejas. Deep in the heart of Tejas, as the song goes. Anyways, Kurt, I hope you're doing well. Yes. Fight. Some might want to use the last part of that. Hypocrisy. We'll get to that. So if you guys are not aware, Nick's gotten a little camera shy. And, well, I mean, given what we've been dealing with so far, I guess it's par for the course. You should accept it. But he has filed a motion, and we were going to focus on his dad's testimony, as an interesting matter of public record has been attached. But an interesting matter of the docket has been attached. And we're going to address that first because it's very interesting. And I mean, it's very interesting. And what got filed? Well, if you guys were not aware, Nick has an attorney on his criminal case. And that attorney has been around for a while. So now what is going to happen with that? Well, he filed a motion, and he filed a motion in response to Josh, through his attorney, Josh Null, Monsieur Moon from the Kiwi Farms, filed and said, Your Honor, Minnesota judge, we would like to watch Nick's trial. We would like it streamed. Well, Nick and his attorney responded. And they responded in a very, very interesting way. A very, very interesting way. Jasper the Cat says, it's not a secret. Clyde coin, and it's going to the moon. Yes, that's right, chat. Off their mond. If you don't know who Clyde is, guys, come here. Hold on. Hey, Clyde. Come here, bud. Come here, buddy. Hey. Come here. Up here. Hey. Come here, Dingleberry. You guys think this guy right here would make a crypto scam? Shame on you. He's going to make a crypto coin that'll blow out all the other crypto coins. He's going to dominate even Bitcoin. That's right. Clyde coin is going to the moon. Just I know, buddy. You want to go? You want to go see 2.0? I got you. I got you. Go have fun. Go have fun. All right. So let's get started. You guys, we already are going to stop leaking documents. CoffeeZilla said Clyde's coin is a scam rug pull. Well, we'll have to see about that. If he wants to call Clyde a scam to his face and call Clyde a scam artist, by all means, he can come on out here and do it. Should you cred max and buy Clyde coin? That's up to you. I cannot give financial advice. All right, so here we go. Here we go. This dropped today. Dropped today like the hottest hood signal. And Nick will remember that from his days being on the mean streets of Houston where people were dying all the time and cops were smacking the seats of buses and telling all the black kids they were going to prison. You know, and as like I said, as like Nas says in Thug Mansion, you know, his mom was like Afina Shakur, you know, trying to raise a ghetto king in a war. So, you know, it's good. It's a good our Nicholas learned how to fight back. He saved himself. He saved himself. So this was filed, and it's defendant's motion in response to Joshua Moon's motion to allow video and audio recording, which you think based on those comments we just saw, well, I think we get to watch. But I don't know. So this motion is submitted in response to Joshua Moon's motion for an order from his court permitting the audiovisual recording and broadcast of all future proceedings in this matter. The defendant objects to the audio and video recording of all future proceedings in this matter and requests the court deny Mr. Moon's motion in its entirety. Ah, wow. Wow. That's a little different. I wasn't expecting that from Nick. You know, good old libertarian Nick, like, no court. I want private courts. Okay. I mean, I thought we were going to bust open this, like, yeah, Nick, you were going to break it open. You were going to show the corruption that runs through the streets of Candy, Ojai County. That you were going to wade through that abattoir of corruption and greed, that den of inequity, and come out of it righteous. You were going to be the St. Patrick of central Minnesota, and you were going to strike the snakes from your land. You were going to do it, King. You were going to do it. You were going to tell us a story. Buddy, it's story hour, and you want to close the library. You were going to tell us a story. But you're closing story hour down. Come on, Nick. I need you, buddy. You got to lead that charge. You want to show me the corruption? Show it to me. And I'll be right there helping you put handcuffs on Alicia Sweep, the pastors, all the Scandinavian prudes. We'll round them up, Nicky boy. I'll come out there and help you, man. I'll bring the zip ties and we'll put them all in a camp. And then we'll have a drumhead court martial. And you can stand there and have your Baldo glued in a stick and gavel out sentences. I'll be right there with you. Show me it's corrupt. Show me it's corrupt. Yes. Let's put that system on trial, Nicholas. The system is on trial. But you don't want to do it. Come on, man. Come on. Oh. So the background. On August 6th, 2024, Joshua Moon through counsel. We got a footnote. They talk about the documents, guys. We're going to blah, 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 blah. Okay. The Minnesota attorney authorizing either himself, a professional videographer, or a Minnesota attorney to record the proceedings. Mr. Moon avers to be the sole member of the limited liability company, which operates a website known as Kiwi Farms with the URL of kiwifarms.st. Yes, but you can also go to kiwifarms.net if you want to be an OG. But yes, .st, that is, by God, we'll have our home again, chat. By God, we'll have our home. Mr. Moon asserted that Kiwi Farms is an internet forum that promotes commentary and discussion on noteworthy events. Included with the support of his motion and affidavit were a number of communications to and from the Candiotine County Sheriff's Office, which Mr. Moon's counsel averred he received in response to his Governmental Data Practices Act request. Counsel declared that due to the volume of material responsible to his quest and the late delivery of the media, he had not had time to thoroughly review the records released by the sheriff and what they contain. On August 7th, Moon's counsel noticed that court and parties that Oliver W. Bromke, an attorney licensed in Minnesota. Now, was he a practicing attorney? I don't know. That's where we get to. Like, what type of attorney is he? Because maybe he's one of these horrible, shitty court-appointed attorneys. Maybe is he a malpractice factory? Is he a malpractice factory like Nick's like to talk about? Had volunteered to audio and video record the proceedings on behalf of Moon. Which, you know what? That guy, man, he is a true gentleman. I mean, my heart goes out to him for wanting to do that. Because it is, yeah. So, and before we get too far, you know what? We should advertise Oliver Bromke, because you know what? Homie might need, if you happen to be in the Grand Forks, North Dakota area and you're looking for an attorney, Oliver Bromke might be who you're looking for. And if you guys are looking for help or looking for things out there, he is out in the North Dakota. He's also in the North Dakota court system. And if you guys are out in that area and you need somebody that can help you do work, give him a call. He might be able to help you out. Certainly, it sounds like he's currently as a practicing attorney. So I'm just saying it's going to be there. And if you guys are not aware where Grand Forks, North Dakota is, it is here. Here is the state of Minnesota. Like that. That's Minnesota. There's Grand Forks, chat. Way up there in the middle of nowhere, north of Fargo. And Baldoistan is somewhere around in here, the land of the Baldos. So, anyways, that's where this attorney was willing to come from. That's a long haul, too. So, if you guys are up in the North Dakota, northern Minnesota area, sounds like a good guy. I give him a call, see what he's about, because seems like he's pretty credible. Seems like he's pretty practiced and responsible. Does he own a suit or does he wear pajamas to court? I'm assuming he wears a suit. Bromke's in the chat, really? Where is he? Bromke will be drawn and quartered. Joshua Moon for fat fingering his own ID number. Oliver Bromke, if this is you, welcome, man. Welcome. From player to player, pimp to pimp, practicing attorney, man. At the moment, I take clients in North Dakota. I'm switching over my practice to work out of Minnesota as well. Well, listen, man, I hope you nothing but the best, and I hope that new proving grounds in Minnesota are bountiful for you and allow you to expand your practice. So good luck to you, sir. Good luck to you out there. And thank you for wanting to help and get involved. So let me see. Baldoistan. Well, there's Baluchistan, and I don't want Nick to get confused because that's a real place over in Iran and Afghanistan. All right. So here we go. His affidavit informed the court that he's licensed and in good standing in the state of Minnesota with the Minnesota ID of 0504714. He reiterated that his ID was 0504714 in the signature block of his affidavit. However, the search in the Minnesota Judicial Branch's website revealed that lawyer ID 504714 is assigned to an attorney, Andrea Marie Blaisdell of Minneapolis, not to Oliver W. Bromke of Grand Forks, North Dakota. Oh no, he messed up. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, he messed up and put a... Oh no, Chad, it's over. It's over. He's perjury. It's perjurious. He messed up. It fucking happens. This fucking tamponic squealing. It wasn't right. Oh my god. Oh, it's not right. That's basically what his attorney just did. Your Honor, it's wrong. He can't be a real attorney. He's fake. He's fake. You know, like, just saying here, I typos all the time, man. It happens. You put the wrong case number in. You forget to change the caption on a case, or you're in the wrong county. Like, shit happens, homie. But like, you want to nickel and dime like that, buddy. You're opening yourself up to a lot of things there. Open yourself up to a lot of things. Even Supreme Court justices fuck up, Holmes. So like, if this is the road you want to go down, you know, we can dog you for everything you don't get right. It's all perjury, Your Honor. He forgot a comma. So we're gonna keep going though. The law. I am the law. The law. It's like that's Robert Barnes' nickname. The counsel for Mr. Moon cited the applicable rule, albeit incompletely. Did he really do it completely? Oh, counsel cited too and quoted in part the language of Minnesota Rule of General Practice 4.02d, writing, well, are you saying he said this because you should have done like quotes if this is what he did? I'm just saying, like, if we're going to be all technically actionably. Yeah, so the criminal proceeding before a court before a guilty plea has been accepted or verdicts have been returned, a judge may authorize the visual or audio recording of reproduction of appropriate trial proceedings unless there's a substantial likelihood that coverage would expose any victim or witness who may testify at trial to harm, threats of harm, or intimidation. Okay. To determine whether to grant this, the judge can consider any relevant factors, not limited to the position of the parties and the wishes of the victims, the level of the public interest in the trial, the necessity of the coverage to safeguard the defendant's right to a public trial, or the public's right of access to criminal trials. Huh. Yeah, that's, I'm pretty sure we did that one. I'm pretty sure we did that one, chat. Hold on here. Hold on. It's coming back to me now. It's coming back to me. I mean, I could have sworn we just watched that. Didn't we just see something about that? Hold on. I think we just thought
the reasons that video is critical and should be in every single courtroom in every single case. Video and transparency of the courts is something I'm pretty passionate about. One, because I'm self-interested in making money off of them. Two, because it protects the people from judicial abuse or abuse by the state. And three, because it protects the citizenry from lies by people about the abuse of the state.
Huh. Huh. Yeah, it's so interesting. It's so interesting. So interesting. So interesting. You know, we've got the concern of the necessity of the defendant's right to a public trial, the public's right to have access to criminal trials. That's kind of important. Why? Why is that important? Why is that important, chat? Remember, we want to make sure that Nick's getting treated fairly. We also want to make sure Nick's treating the government fairly. Let's not to worry about the existing security issues. Having a lot of people in that courthouse is going to be tough. Courtroom or courthouse facility limitations or public health concerns that would merit restricting observers from the physical courtroom. The courtroom or courthouse facility limitations that will render coverage impractical. I don't see any there. 6, the positive or negative impact of recording and reproduction on the dignity and decorum of the trial proceedings. And 7, the effect of recording and reproduction on transparency, public education, public trust and confidence in proceeding, or of the judicial system. And counsel, however, omitted the final sentence of the paragraph, which reads, coverage under this paragraph is subject to the following limitations. Okay. So what are the limitations? You're only listing some of them. The first of which, should this matter not be dismissed prior to trial, is there shall be no visual or audio coverage of any witness or victim or defendant who is a minor at the time of trial. Yeah, yep, we could fix that. I mean, this is where Nick, I know you're out there. If you'd watched the Karen Reed trial, there were two minor witnesses. Two witnesses who were minors. You know what happened? The camera went, boop, looked at the ceiling, and they turned off the sound. Oh, hold on 1 second. Sorry, 2.0 is heading out, going to do her thing. But you can do this. Courts do it all the time. And Nick, if you've been watching trials, you know how that happens. But I understand. It's so stressful. Super stressful out there. Although I've been told the more cocaine you take, the more stress you can put on your shoulders. And if you take them crack rocks, you got boulders for your shoulders. You can handle all the stress. So you could have still streamed, right? Yeah, Daryl Brooks in the minors trial. They're minors. They testified off camera. Yeah. Yep. So some more tampon waggling. We're worried about something. We can fix it. That's what we've got right now. That's what we've got right now from Nick's attorney. One more of the witnesses called by the state will be a minor at the time of trial. A blanket order to permit the audio-visual recordings of the broadcast of all future in this matter is unwarranted. Now, Nick, I get this. You're not a practicing attorney, but courts can shape orders. They can say you are granted access. And then, you know what happens? Because I actually went and covered like the cheating fisherman. I sought media access and I was granted it. I petitioned the court. They were really confused because they know I'm an attorney. So they're like, why the fuck are you asking? But I did it. And then I got the list of limitations. I had to abide by the court's media policies. And in that policy, I'll list all the things you have to do. And one of those included is you cannot film minors if they're on the stand. You can't record them at all. Like, this is not hard. You could shape orders. So instead of asking for a modification or a protective order, you're just like, no, don't do it. Whoa! Come on, Nick. But anyways, this is of special significance, as upon information and belief, the first individual who sought information from the Kaneohe County Sheriff's Office, who identified himself as a volunteer member of the Kiwi Farms Reporting Forum. Is that to imply they're mandatory members of Kiwi Farms? Like this is a draft? You get conscripted into the farms, that there's forced membership? You're a voluntary member of the Kiwi Farms. It sounds like a gay op to me, but what do I know? It's Jason Close of 950 25th Street Northwest in Washington, D.C. Upon information and belief, Jason Close, in addition to being a volunteer member of the Kiwi Farms Reporting Forum, is a convicted sex offender, having been convicted of possessing cheese pizza in 2014. Huh. You know what? I think there's a concern here, and I think he's a volunteer member of the Kiwi Farms. I think he's a volunteer member of some other things. Chat. Just curious, though. I mean, he's a volunteer member. So I think you're implying, like, that means that any group he's a member of is shit and is disgusting. I think it's a volunteer member of Locals. Hmm. Mm. 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 Enhance. I don't know if we can enhance that, chat. Let's see if we can zoom in here. No, we can't. We can't zoom. We can't zoom, chat. I'm sorry, but yes, he's a member of the pedophile website. He's a volunteer member of Locals. And yes, you're a volunteer member of YouTube. You know, you got splaining to do, man. Y'all got splaining to do. You know, if this is the case that immediately grabs the attention of a convicted sex offender, so much he appears to have been the first person who sought information from the Candiota County Sheriff's Office, the broadcast of these proceedings is fraught with peril as it places the minor children of the defendant on display for Jason Close and other convicted sex offenders. They can come into the courthouse, Nick. What happens then? What happens when they come in the courthouse and they just sit there and stare at your kids? Did you think this through, Baldo? Baldo, did you think this through? No, you can't. Like, we could turn the cameras away. No! But now what can they do? They can come to the courthouse. They can come to the courthouse, Nick. That works. I guess Nick wants the pedophiles to come see his kids in person. You know, I guess that's what he wants. I guess that's what he wants. I guess that's what you want, Nick. Nick wants those guys to come in. I'm sure Nick will be like, well, do you guys like Baldos? Here's a Baldo. Let's try Baldos out together. You know, here's a Baldo. Because he's been like, I know you guys aren't Scandinavian prudes. Yeah, they can come to the courthouse. What then? No, don't come on the internet. Come in real life. Why would you invite that? Why would you invite that? Once again, I'm not big brained enough for that, chat. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Don't get it, chat. Anyway, because of the recorded presence of potential exhibits that might be offered in pretrial proceedings, protecting the defense of minor children is an element is tangential to the second limitation as well. Okay, you can protect them. There shall be no audio-visual recording of anything, but not including to limited to bail hearings, arraignment, pretrial, or omnibus hearings, motions limiting, or any other proceedings prior to the jury being sworn, or any hearings that take place outside the presence of the jury. This matter is scheduled to come for a contested omnibus on August 21st. The timing of Mr. Moon's motion, as well as request that the court permit it, strongly suggests that he seeks the court's leave to record and broadcast the omnibus, and not just the trial, should the matter not be dismissed prior thereto. I mean, is this kind of telegraphing we're going to take a plea? Is this telegraphing that? Yes, you should really have your source in the main text. I agree, but you know, this apparently we're allowed to make fun of a lawyer for putting the wrong number down today. That's the real thing. Is Nick going to take a plea? Is he going to, as he said before, is he going to tuck his nuts up into his asshole? Because the government tells him to? I hope he doesn't. That would be really weird. And not funny. Because the term shall is mandatory, the court has no discretion to grant Mr. Moon's motion for any proceedings prior to the jury being sworn. Okay. Mr. Moon's lengthy analysis is irrelevant. Because the plain language of Rule 4's limitations render Mr. Moon's analysis of the general factors superfluous, the court need not consider them. Nevertheless, due diligence requires they be specifically addressed. Well, I'm sure the billable hours too. I'm sure these were billable hours. And that's the funny part. You know, this is your kill shot, and we got you whining about pedophiles and somebody typing in a 2 instead of a 1. This is where you're burying the lead, man. Brevity is the soul of wit. Brevity is the soul of wit. In and out. Get done. Why are you dragging this out? Yes. Billable hours. I've never had clients as rich as Nick, so I'm usually just like, flat rate. Oh. Well, yes, Josh, how are you doing? If you want to come on, I'll send you a link. I don't know if you want to or not. I assume you're probably busy. Probably busy doing all your kiwi farming out there. Also, real quick, I saw where was he at? MG Law is saying, "Hey, MG Law, how you doing, man? It's good to see you." Say they'll act like it's not possible to craft a meteor that protects the kids when they testify. I know exactly. You can do it. It can be done. It's not hard. It's not hard. Josh is chatty. He's a chatty Cathy. He'll come on. Well, if he doesn't want to, I won't make him. But I'm going to. Oh, I forget. This is probably the easiest way to start a new conversation. Recipients. There you go. There you go, Noel. If you ever want it, it is available to you, but I am not going to press you because I know it's already late over there. Anyway, the defendant does not favor audiovisual access. He doesn't favor it. Aww. Counsel for the Moon emailed defendant on May 29th and conceded that he had received no response. Yeah. From his silence, Mr. Moon assumed the defendant's position on video access to courts had not changed. That's a pretty fair thing. If I mail the opposing party, I send you an email. I'm like, hey, man, how do you feel about this? The heck? Who is calling me? Got some shower calls. Hold on, chat. That's actually an important one. I have to read this email or this text. Okay, where the heck is it? Okay, my mailbox is full. Oh, god damn freaking jail calls. Sorry, Chad, I gotta take care of this here. But yes, we're gonna go to Rule 4 in a second and all, because I think yes. Yeah. And I do think there's a big issue here that the Zoom was on. So does that mean the court broke its own rules? I'm a little concerned by that. Do we have the court breaking its own rules? Because remember, guys, we had a Zoom hearing. So how did that work? How did that work? I don't answer my phone. Well, the people, when you call from jail, I don't do that because it costs money. That's why I don't answer them, because it's like 20 cents a minute. Anyway, that is a bold assumption. Not really. Not really. That's not a bold assumption at all. You were emailed May 29th. June passed. No word. July passed. No word. No word. It doesn't seem to be like you're opposing it. Doesn't seem to be like you're opposing it. That's a bold assumption. No, it's a pretty logical assumption. It's what I would do. What most attorneys would do. As the cited cases upon which the defendant had previously opined did not involve his or any other defendant's minor children, counsel for Moon declared that while the victims in this case have not specifically expressed an opinion to undersigned counsel, that's true, victims as a class also have an interest in public access to court proceedings. This begs a few questions. Who are these victims? The kids. Are we saying that the kids aren't victims for the child endangering? The child neglect? What does Mr. Moon's counsel mean when he says these victims have not specifically expressed an opinion to him? Well, they're a victim, then they have not gone through, hi, Doth, we would not like this. Or I go, hi, Doth, we would like this. They have not talked to him. This is not, we are not flying the fucking space shuttle here. Is Mr. Moon's counsel referring to the defendant's minor children? Well, he's not referring to the state of Minnesota as the victim. We're not going Darrell Brooks style saying we haven't heard from the state. The state of Minnesota never got back to us. And if so, have they expressed any opinion directly or through a third party? He's saying they haven't specifically expressed an opinion on him. This is disconcerting given the rapid involvement of Jason Close, a volunteer member of Kiwi Farms, reporting for him, and a convicted sex offender. I mean, he's... Nick, you raked yourself, man. He's part of your thing, too. The call's coming from within the house, Nick! Run! The pedophiles are everywhere. Aren't all Nick's kids minors? Yes. Yeah, can't anyone just sign up for Kiwi Farms? Is it not just a forum? Correct. It's literally like any other website. Anybody can sign up. Just like locals. At ricadalaw.locals.com, you too can be a convicted pedophile and sign up for it. You literally can do that. So I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying, it's you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful, man. You wield those rakes, you run a risk of catching yourself in the face with it. I'm just saying, chat. You gotta be careful. All right. So where are we? Where is? Hold on here. Wait. Oh. So. This is interesting because this is the thing. Nick's attorney was like, I've got you now, Kiwi Farms! I've got you now! There's a lot to this. There's a lot of parts to this. This rule may be superseded by specific rules of Minnesota Supreme Court relating use of cameras in the courtroom for security purposes, for the use of video or audio recordings of proceedings to create an official recording of the case, or for interactive video hearings pursuant to the rule or order of the Supreme Court. Rule 4 does not supersede the provisions of the Minnesota Rules of Public Access to Records of Judicial Branch. There's exceptions. A judge may authorize the use of electronic or photographic means for the presentation of evidence, for perpetuation of a record, or for other purposes of judicial administration. Okay. Well, we're not worried about investigative, ceremonial, and naturalization proceedings, so we'll skip that. Civil proceedings, we'll skip that. We get to this part here. In criminal proceedings occurring before a guilty plea has been accepted or a guilty plea verdict has been returned, the judge may authorize the visual or recording or reproductions unless there's substantial likelihood that it would expose harm. And they go through all of these. And it says there should be no visual or audio coverage during voir dire. And no visual or audio coverage of jurors at any time during the trial. Okay. There shall be no visual or audio coverage of any witness, victim, or defendant who's a minor. Then we get to 5. There shall be no visual or audio coverage of any pretrial recordings, including but not limited to bail hearings. We already had that, though. The court broke the law, chat. The court broke the law. How did that work? How did that work? How did the court break its own law? How did the court break its own rules? The arraignment, pretrial, or omnibus hearings, motions eliminating other proceedings prior to the jury being sworn, or any of the hearings that take place outside the presence of the jury. We already had this happen, though. So, how did that happen, Nick? How did that happen? I'm really curious. Yes, Nick's on the case. He'll hold the court to the court standard. I'm sure he will. I'm sure Nick will. He's gonna. It's all the corruption, chat. We're gonna get it all. We're gonna have to get it all, chat. Patty says, I call innocent people pedophiles too. And 35% of this commie chat. Well, no, I just think a lot of people are communists. So it's just interesting, though. There'll be no coverage, but you already had coverage, Nick. How did that work? Huh. Sounds like there could be exceptions, though. So I'm not so sure. But hey, this is 8 pages of like one paragraph. The level of public interest is concededly exceptionally high. You could say that the defendant concedes the level of public interest is exceptionally high. That would probably flow a little better here, but whatever. Its exceptionally high public interest is evident during the defendant's first appearance, which resulted in public interlocutors intruding upon the proceedings. I'm surprised you can call them interlopers, but that would have been better. As well as the proceedings being recorded by parties as yet unknown, made available on social media websites. Notice he doesn't say this was an illegal recording. Notice they don't say that recording was in violation of the rules, so I guess you can do it. You're not saying it was illegal or wrong. You haven't accused the court of violating the rules yet. I mean, that seems like an easy one to do there, Nick. That seems like an easy one. The Sixth Amendment to the United States Constitution and Section 6 to the Minnesota Constitution guarantee the defendant the right to trial by an impartial jury. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the population as of July 1st, 2023 is 48,813. The population of what? The population of what? Oh my God, does the attorney forget to include words? Did he make a big typo here? What's this? What is this of? What is this of? What's this the population of? Right now with the population of, I mean, did his attorney mess up? Oh my God. Nick, your attorney committed perjury. String him up. Yes. Motion denied. You're wrong. The population of what? I know it's Candioi County, but you didn't actually put it down. I guess it's not right. Yes. We have a Sneedhawk down. We have a Sneedhawk down. Yes. Nick's attorney is a walking malpractice factory, chat. Oh. Oh. So I know what he means. He means Candioi County, but if we're gonna be like, if we're gonna be all dick sniggering here, we're gonna be little we're going to be contemptuous faggots and play the game of like, well, you didn't do it right. Well, you didn't do it right. I mean, that's why you don't do this. The reason why you don't do shit like this is because you will rake yourself. If not in this filing, the very, like, you're going to do it and you're going to fucking stomp on a rake. This is why I don't do that. If there's a mistake and it's clearly like, I'm not sure, you say, party, respondent or petitioner, it's not clear if respondent or petitioner meant X, Y, and Z or X, Y, and Z. You could say it in a very nice way. But to go, it's like, okay, like, now you're like, it's like, what? You could have done it where it's like, we all mess up, everybody poops. But anyways, 48,813, that's pretty small. Of this population, 24% are under the age of 18 and 21% are over the age of 65. Well, let me use the Census Bureau here. So roughly 45% of the population is outside the range of normal voters. Now, if you're generally over the age of 65, you have the right not to report. Because I don't want to force old people to show up. But you can. This means that leaves a pool of 26,847 adults. Neither the defendant nor the court can undo the unlawful exposure which has been exposed, tainting his potential veneer. But the defendant does request, and the court can prevent further harm to the defendant's right to an impartial jury by not further tainting the potential veneer of a small venue, smaller than that drawn upon in Chauvin. Maybe you need to file a motion for a change of venue. I don't know. But I'm sure people in the community already know about you, Nick. They didn't need us to tell you about it. Michelle says, so retired people can't vote. No, they can vote. The idea is, though, you don't generally want old people on juries. It's hard for them to hear. It's hard for them to stay awake. They might not, they have all kinds of issues. They might have medical issues. They can't sit around for a while. But you have the right to go on a jury. If you want to show up, you have the right to be on a jury. I've had a jury before where like a 79-year-old lady was on it. She has every right to be there. My wife just said you're being a silly pants. Well, I'm just saying. Yeah, you can have a 90-year-old juror. It happens. Yes, and we're citing Chauvin like this getting on the front page of the news every day, all over the country, and like there's motherfucking riots going because of the case. Yes, this is just like Chauvin. All the riots yet. That shouldn't be a Dotsie saying, am I camera shy or am I the one with a black screen? Pretty sure it's just you. I can't sneed. Yes. Yes, the Baldo riots. Yes. Now, coverage is not necessary to ensure a public trial for the defendant or to protect the public's right to access the trial. Even if the court denies Moon's motion, should the matter not be dismissed prior thereto, will be public and the public will have a right to attend. Only they may not be able to attend from the comfort of their recliners and in their pajamas. I'm actually betting you could probably get away with wearing your pajamas as long as you're like in pants and a t-shirt. You will pass a dress code. I'm just saying. Yes, so a room full of people. I'm sure that's really what you guys want is a courtroom full of people there. Now, this is funny because Nick's attorney is a Barnes guy. Isn't Barnes a hardcore, Barnes is a big Trump dude? Listen to this. Early this year, former President Trump was tried by a jury in a Manhattan court. Despite the international interest in that proceeding, the ability of those accredited journalists who desired to physically attend and offer commentary, former President Trump still had a public trial. The public had a right to access the trial, even though the proceedings were not recorded and broadcast. You heard it here first, chat. Nick thinks Trump had a fair trial. Nick Recated thinks Donald Trump had a fair and public trial. You heard it here first. You heard it here first. Paul is saying there are never cameras in federal court. It was in state court. It was in state court, so there could have been cameras. You heard it here first. You heard it here first. That was a fair and public trial. That was a fair trial Donald Trump got. It wasn't a kangaroo court. Yes, generally New York doesn't do cameras, but there are exceptions, and I would argue that would have been a good exception. Oh, look, Neville says, in fact, we heard it here second, and then Andrew beat you to it. Okay, well, I know Andrew was doing stuff. I was busy today. I couldn't get out. I had court today, chat. I couldn't get out of it. I had to sit there with my phone and use Canva to make the thumbnail. That's why it sucks so much. So that's why. Oh. But they have. What are you so afraid of? What are you so? Just want to ask. It's like Angel Smith. What are you so afraid of? Oh, I heard a boop. Do you want that, or do you want to change your thing, sir? Hello.
Hi.
Yes, this is, guys. This is, well, goes by Joshua right now, not going by Noel, but yes.
It was very difficult to get into this, but so
it was
YouTube account. Yeah, this YouTube account is just like, I don't know what it is. It just gave me some account, and it's just called Joshua Moons. I don't have my avatar, and I can't upload it on a different computer. But
I don't know why
it's by the way, because I don't know how I sound.
Your volume's a little quiet.
Okay, 1 second. Hello, how's this?
Yeah, we can hear you. We're good. You're good. You're
Perfect.
good.
Okay.
Yes. So, yeah, isn't this interesting? Going through this and reading it. Yes, apparently Trump had a fair trial. It was okay. We heard about what happened.
Oh, is Trump mentioned in this?
Yeah. He brings up that, early this year, former Trump was tried by a jury in a Manhattan court. And despite the inability of people to watch it, President Trump still had a public trial, and the public had right to access that trial.
I mean, that's a weird comparison. Do you think Nick wrote this? Because it would be a very Nick thing to be like, yeah, I'm basically like Trump.
I don't know. I don't know if he wrote it himself, but yeah, it's actually, guys, I picked it.
I feel like he edited it.
Maybe a little bit. I don't know though, because here's the thing: if I was the attorney, you can suggest things, but you are not like. If my name's going on it, I'm the one who edits it and submits it. I will not let you touch it. So I'm really hoping his attorney is doing it all himself, because you don't let your client touch things that you're signed to, because that's just a recipe for failure and disaster. Because if they put something completely crazy in there, your name's on it. And even though Nick is an attorney, that's not an excuse.
The chat summary generated by AI says that viewers are happy Jersh has joined the stream.
Yes.
That's really cute.
Yes.
Okay.
Also, people are sad. It's sad that I'm doing this to Nick. I'm like, well, I want to ask the people. They ask the people who was asking that to me. It's like, have you ever heard of the fucking Ronversations? Have you ever heard any of the shit that's ever happened before? Like, come on now. You must not have been around from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of stuff. Like his first things that he talked about were Russell Greer. So it's not like it's just a bizarre thing. I think the only thing he has going for him is that his kids are involved. But the issue with that is, you can bring up the kids all you want and say what a tragedy that it is that they're inflicted in this court process.
Yeah.
But that's not my fault. I don't understand why that's my fault that the kids are involved. I didn't bring the kids into anything. I haven't mentioned the kids at all in any way, shape, or form, outside of the evidence that one of them tested positive for cocaine at the age of 8. But that's also not my
I
fault.
edit their names out of stuff.
Yeah.
I make sure that they aren't here. Like they don't need to be in. They don't need to be in.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It is a tragedy, but at the same time, I didn't do it. So
yes,
I'm not particularly sure where my sympathy, besides for their situation, it is. I feel bad for them, you know. It's just from day one. It's kind of weird that this has been the whole angle. Like the surrogates for Rakeda, like Barnes and Viva Fry and Chrissy Meyer and stuff. I think they've all come out and said how disgusting it is that everyone wants to see the kids, and I'm like, I don't think anyone's ever mentioned wanting to see the kids. I know what
nobody has.
I have a vague idea that there are 5 of them between the ages of 8 and 17, and it's like, unless there's something really specific to the case that's in their rooms, I don't care to see them. I want to see the living spaces. I want to see the bedroom where the cocaine was found. I want to see the kitchen, the outside the house when the entry was made. There's a lot of things that are interesting to see, and none of them have anything to do with like the kids' terrarium where they keep frogs and stuff. It's like, who cares? None of that.
I don't need to see that. Yeah, unless you're going to tell me the kids were in the bedroom. Like,
I mean, in which case that's baffling because there's cocaine in the room, and that's like their weird sex dungeon. So, we can filter that out, but at the same time, it's like that's the only point of contention. And then they, to bring up this fucking weirdo who I have no idea about. Like, he's been around for forever and somehow has managed to completely evade notice for that long. Yeah, number one, it's a bad idea to try and bring him up when he's a member of your community as well.
Well, I don't think he knew that.
Well, obviously not, or he sure as fuck would have kicked him out first before filing this shit. I think he might have known about him though, because when he was talking to me, now when he's doing the whole, like, he jumps the gun and goes, the royal we. It's like, was he finagling for that the entire time? That was his goal to get, because it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Obviously, I mean, me and Harden, like, I'm not asking you to sign a permission waiver for the fucking forum. I'm not asking you to post it to the Kiwi Farms. Why the fuck would you even go there? Now it makes sense because he was hoping to get something more concrete, royal we, that we act in consortium, and it's like, okay. So he's been thinking about this for a fucking week now at this point.
Well, no, and this is his like master salvo, which it's like, okay, fine. Pedophiles you can't watch on TV. You have to come in person and oogle my kids. Like,
that's a really great point. That's actually masterful. That thought, because it's like, if your concern is that pedophiles might enter your courthouse and look at your kids, well, then surely you would prefer that there'd be television access only, because that's safer.
And now that they're at the courthouse, they're within very close distance of your home.
Yeah, you're inviting this creepy guy that is like a parasocial relationship with you from DC. He can fly out. There's nothing stopping him from flying out to Spicer, Minnesota, and entering this courtroom. He's still a member of the public. He's not disenfranchised from court appearances.
Nobody has his notification requirements, which you probably won't follow. Yes, I thought this was cute though, the whole Donald Trump thing here, which
that is pretty cute. Yeah. But I mean, I assume now, I don't know if he's hoping that we'll go through and looking at the court records for this to figure out the. I mean, it's New York law, so it doesn't matter. But at the same time, I'm sure the judge's thought was like, letting any media into this case is going to be a circus and it's going to endanger the proceedings, as opposed to one guy from North Dakota, the least threatening person on the planet.
Well, hey, listen though, Josh. He misspelled. He typed in the wrong number. Game over. Total attorney death there.
That's such a pathetic thing to harp on, because he harps on that for longer than I think he does some of his.
Well, here's the thing
arguments.
Here. They talk about, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, the population of what? Like, we don't, like, there's literally nothing here about the population of what area. Like, he left out Kandiyohi County. I don't know if you heard that. I'm like,
oh yeah, that's
motion
funny.
denied. You messed up, man.
Like, county.
Well, hey,
But
we demand
even
you gotta type it. You know, come on, are you that incompetent? You mess up, bro.
yeah.
You know,
So
I'm
it's
just
like half that population, 24,000. So they're arguing that but it's like if anybody, if televising to this sphere is going to taint his jury pool, his 2 years of inebriated, embarrassing self humiliation rituals on YouTube probably have tainted the jury pool more than any pretrial hearing would, because he's going to be on his best behavior. He's not going to. I mean, if he shows up to the court completely fucked up on cocaine, that would also be really interesting. But he probably won't.
Yeah. Jokin plays game, says he's fat and not funny. Cool. You're here, honey. You're here. I mean, I don't know. You're not here. You're here instead of playing games. So I don't know what to say, man. Oh, hey, no. Did you know I was fat? Did you know that?
I've heard you like sandwiches.
Yeah, I know. Yes. 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 Each courthouse will have a Baldo taped to the seat underneath. That'll be the party.
Should actually ask: does he get a jury? Of course, he gets a jury. It's a criminal matter. You can only,
but not for like not the omnibus hearing and stuff, guys. But yes, as of right now, he's presumed of wanting a jury trial.
Yeah,
but
it's unusual.
You've got to get there.
Like, you can waive it.
You can.
The only time it's a good idea to waive your jury trial is if your evidence is, like, I would imagine, is extremely emotional and also very technical. But otherwise,
it all depends. It all depends.
Yeah, that's a really niche decision to waive your right to a jury trial.
But he's guaranteed a jury trial in the state constitution. Now, there are some states, like Kyle Rittenhouse, for example, in Wisconsin. If you want to have a bench trial, the state has to agree, which I think is wholly unconstitutional. It's the defendant's right to have a trial. It's not the state's right to have a trial. And the state has a bench, like if the state doesn't want it, that's not my problem. So, yeah, I don't know what the deal is, but I think in Nick's case, he gets to decide if he wants a bench trial or a jury trial. So we'll see what will happen.
I imagine it'll be a jury trial because he's going to try to manipulate them. The judge is looking at this guy like he's an idiot.
I'm sure the jury's going to love hearing about. It's like, the Steel Toe Morning Show. Ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you that the Kiwi Farms are the bad man. They don't pick up on sulfur cues.
The Rule 4 stuff. And that's probably, like, if I was writing this, I would probably, because when we submitted this, I was thinking, this is probably a bit long for what it is. Because it's just like we're asking for media access. That should be like really routine. But we covered all our bases, kind of with a bit of fanfare, because it's like we got a bunch of people to sign affidavits. You included, actually.
Yes.
An exhibit in this. And then, of course, they reply, and it's like this extremely bombastic, and it's like alleging like pedophile conspiracy to like see his kids, and it's like, this is a really ridiculous response, and it's very over the top and very emotional. Now it's like, I'm glad that we covered all our bases and didn't just submit like a very standard media petition, because this is this reply kind of implies that it warrants more public scrutiny than before.
Yes.
But the Rule 4 thing is not so clear cut. I thought it was very clear cut because that's how it's written. But it's not a statute. It's a court like procedure document, and I've been informed that
but court rules are very important. They're rules of practice that they are supposed to be the first guiding step.
Yeah,
and
but
then you can go from there.
When it says in his writing, he says shall or shall not. And you would think if that was a statutory reading, that would be concrete. There would be no wiggle room. But because it is in the court rules, it's not as concrete.
I don't think so in that regard. I mean, there might be other rules that allow you to do other things. So the Minnesota rules, the Supreme Court might have other rules, and certain rule sets supersede those.
If you can find superseding ones, because this both I think I want to say that this document references Chauvin, And in the Chauvin trial, that was aired pre-trial, even the omnibus hearing, because the judge said it warranted it. So if it warrants it, and judging by the immense amount of muckraking that Mercado has levied against his own county, and his surrogates have, then it might. But it's not ruled out. And even if it is, even if they say like we don't want you to record the omnibus pretrial stuff before we get the jury pulled in, and the way that it's constructed is entirely designed to like prevent jury poisoning or whatever through pretrial stuff. But even if they do that, then it's like, okay, well, we'll take the trial coverage regardless, you know.
No, I agree. I think there's, I just, yeah, and it's like the question you asked me, like, well, how did they get away with the bail hearing? And you know, I don't see Nick running around screaming the court broke the rules. Like, you know, is just part of more of, is he going to lead the judge out in handcuffs now? It's like, as he goes to each office, as he's rounding up people, he rounds up Alicia Sweep and the sheriff's department. He handcuffs them all and throws them in the jail. And he's like,
very specifically, Officer Pomplin,
Detective Pomplin.
Detective Pomplin. Oh, geez. Who Robert Barnes called out by name because he's the one that got the probable cause. So lots of rumors here from high profile people. You know, he was on the Rittenhouse team. That Robert Barnes. He's pretty. As far as like celebrity attorneys go, whew, alleging some serious stuff here about Detective Pomplin.
Yes. Oh, it's good. And that's how it's going to be. It's going to be all just. It's going to be like OJ. But anyways, they point out that the general rule should be universally named that public assets does not require every proceeding to be rendered into ones and zeros with unfettered abandon. And once again, it brings me back to a point here.
One of the reasons that video is critical and should be in every single courtroom in every single case. Video and transparency of the courts is something I'm pretty passionate about. One, because I'm self-interested in making money off of them. Two, because it protects the people from judicial abuse or abuse by the state.
Oh, wait. Hold on, chat 1 second. I want to make sure, just so we can, if I do this. It's like you recognize that guy.
Yeah, you're not on a time warp.
Yeah.
Citizenry from lies by people about the abuse of the state.
Yeah, so it's important. It's a very important thing. Oh, and I canceled out of it. Damn it. Oh,
yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I don't know how much weight that bears in like a court. It is very, very, very funny that he is so hypocritical. And the only, I mean, his argument in this is that there's now kids involved, which again, I'm not the one who neglected the kids. I don't know why you're bringing that up. Number two, I'm pretty sure there has to be something that he covered that there were kids involved. I mean, Rittenhouse was 17. He's a minor person.
I think he was an adult for Wisconsin purposes. But in the meantime, this year, especially if Nick had been streaming, I know it was very stressful. There was a trial we just went through in June where there were two minors who testified and the cameras just went like bloop and they pointed up at the ceiling and they shut off the sound. And then when they were gone, they brought the camera back down and turned the sound back on. It's like there's a magical way to do this.
Yeah, television has been around for a long time, and children have been testifying in court since its inception. So it's kind of a bizarre argument to say that we haven't figured this out yet, how to like balance the interests of the public and the interests of child protection. You know, it's just like an asinine point to make. We're in the fucking future at this point. We figured it out. We have ways.
Yes, and they point out that cancel for Mr. Moon suggests that if everybody comes to Kaneohe County, there are thousands who desire to attend the proceedings. If Nick is lucky this is in rural Minnesota and Minnesota's a large goddamn state. Because if this happened like on the East Coast or in the South, I guarantee you it would look like a football tailgate outside of every hearing he's got.
The Kaneohe County Court tailgate party.
There would be. I swear to God, there would be one. Mr. Moon's counsel may have demonstrated that there's interest in these proceedings, but he's offered no way to support any assertion that thousands who are interested enough to transmit a data request or sign a law petition will flock there, overwhelming the court's facilities. even if every individual took the effort to execute affidavits elected to attend in person, they would not fill the courtroom. Nick, you missed an opportunity to call me really fat, saying I'd eat up half the courtroom or something.
I think I made that joke already. I said on my podcast,
Oh, you did?
like me and you would fill that courtroom by
Oh.
ourselves.
Oh. I cannot imagine being as big as hypocrite as Nick, huh? We're all hypocrites in one way or another at the end of the day. But yes, this is getting pretty bad. Yes.
He's like begging, like, oh yeah, you think thousands would show up to this hearing? Prove it.
Yeah, don't challenge the internet. Yes. Somebody will hire a bunch of Somalis to come out from Minneapolis. We like Nick Roketa. We hate the Nick Roketa.
It'd be like that battle of the Joshes where they all showed out with like pull cues and stuff.
Yes.
Or, the little floppy noodles.
Yes. You have offered no argument or evidence support of this conclusory statement that security for proceedings are beyond the capabilities of the Candiotine County Sheriff's deputies who secure the courthouse. Have you ever seen 1,000 retards all in one spot? It's not easy. The facility issues that there's no other, no technological or other feasibility of granting this request to visually record the broadcast of proceedings. Well, yeah, the courts already use Zoom.
Called the courthouse, and they said that they have Zoom already set up, so we wouldn't even realistically, we wouldn't even need to send anybody. And the court would be the ones directing the camera, anyways. So there's like zero realistic concerns about the kids testifying.
Yeah, there's it's already been done, and the judge can do. He can click, camera off, sound off, and we just wait. And then they come back, or he pulls a boomer and accidentally mutes half the trial.
Yeah.
The method proposed leaves open broadcasting the testimony of the minor children. Well, once again, the court could say, shut cameras off or stop recording. Like, it happens all the time.
It's such like the pedophile thing, which is like a subpart of his McKidd's argument, is like the entire thing. And it's what's really sickening about it is that he doesn't give a fuck. He would put all 8 or all 27 of his kids up on camera if it meant that the body cam footage and his testimony wouldn't be public record. Like it's just a convenient factor. If there was something about like how hot wives have to be protected, he would be like, April, she would be devastated. If my hot wife, protected by this statute, would just be absolutely devastated if she was televised.
Yes. Oh, I'm sure he'll put one out there for her. Mr. Moon's counsel to his credit acknowledges the inadequacy of using the Zoom platform as a public involvement. The defendant's first appearance tainted the decorum of the court. And once again, this is why I said, you guys, whoever at the beginning was reading total N-word death at the beginning, while very hilarious, that didn't look good. And then when somebody jumped on in the middle and screamed at Nick that he should rope himself, or he should neck himself, it's like, thank you. That was helpful. That was helpful. You helped Nick there.
Yeah, I honestly, watching that made me feel kind of bad, because it's like, it's such an important part of this guy's life. And he's like, it's just like on a fucking Zoom call. I remember when I did software development, I had to do like Skype calls with Australians. And I'm just like, that's not really the appropriate way to like handle this. He should be in like a bench somewhere, like in front of a judge.
Yeah. Well, it's easier because they don't have to truck him down the street, and it all works out. And also, it was a Memorial Day weekend, so their county workers on Memorial Day weekend, nobody wanted to work. They all wanted to go home. And the funny part about it though was the judge immediately was like, "Okay, we just silenced everybody. Ta-da, fixed." Mr. Moon's far different arrangement, however, is no viable substitute. Also, actually, I will say this much: there was a trial. There's a rancher down in Arizona who shot a Mexican guy crossing the border. The court didn't have enough infrastructure to support the bandwidth to broadcast live, so they just recorded it every day on their computer system, and then they uploaded it to YouTube, and you could watch it. So, I mean, there's ways to do this. There are ways to do this. We'd just be watching it behind. They say Mr. Moon's far different arrangement, however, is no viable substitute, as it leaves control to a third party as to whether the testimony of a minor child is broadcast, Despite the plain language of the rule, there shall be no visual audio coverage of a defendant who's a minor. That's literally every trial that ever gets broadcasted. Like, literally, the trial that Nick and I were sitting there watching when he makes that quote is there. That's the funny part. That's the funny part. The Darrell Brooks trial, that happened. You know what happened? The camera focused away from the minor and shut the sound off. Like, they argue, oh, this is technical, we can't figure it out. So, Plead the Fifth says this is what Nick must have meant by "you'll hate me more." So I don't hate him. I just think it's sad. It's like, it's bordering on like pathetic. It's like, dude, just like, this is what you're gonna flail around on.
It kind of surprises me because I thought when this happened, he would come out and he would have like a come to Jesus moment where he would be like, "No, really, I'm changing my life. I'm fixing everything up." And he's like really doubled down on being like a complete dickhead piece of shit. And it's kind of, I'm actually a little bit surprised. I know a lot of people would consider that naive, but his idea that he's gonna like salvage his reputation by just everybody who has any interest in his case a pedophile, and heavily implying that just everybody's lying about him when everybody saw him get fucked up on camera every night for like 2 years. It's just like so audacious that he would even think it would work.
And then we get to the end here. This will promote transparency. Well, Nick thinks everybody's corrupt, so yeah, we need transparency. Public education, that would help public trust and confidence in the proceedings or the judicial system. You know, Nick's the one screaming the system's corrupt at this point. So, that might be something you guys want to include, and just clip after clip of Nick so far. The court gave me bad attorneys. The court did this. The court did that. It's like, okay, Nick. Now, unfortunately, these factors were lost when members of the public ignored the entreaties and orders of the court to conduct themselves with decorum and to not record Mr. Rekida's first appearance. I still want to know, did Nick ever complete his investigation on who he was going to go after and tell Judge Fisher about? I don't know if you remember that part, but he was like, do I tell Judge Fisher if I find out who broke the rules?
Oh,
I wonder if he sleuthed it out.
Liquor, right?
Yes. Well, but
sure
not like that. Yeah. Well, you got to be careful how you say that, because that could be interpreted one way or another. But yes, that she squirts liquor out of her vagina.
Yeah, that was pretty sad when he invoked that rule that he gets like one free do-over with the judge.
Yes,
because everyone was like, "Oh my god, we're so happy."
Yes, allowing the recording and broadcasting these proceedings would be like punishing a child who raided the cookie jar by giving him the rest of the cookies.
Wow.
So you're saying that the public is a bunch of children? Like, is this how it works now? Is this the argument we're making, that the rights of everyone are now subject to the use of and abuse by others? I thought that's not how you're supposed to do freedom and liberty and rights and stuff.
Yeah, is court access a cookie? Is that like a little treat that we hand out to the goodest boys and girls? Is that how that works now?
This lawyer, he's not being a doofus. He's trying to protect his client. I don't blame him for that. Like, Francis White is doing his thing. Like, I will give him credit for that. I just think, Nick wanted him to do this, so he's doing it, and Nick is just losing his damn mind.
It kind of feels like this came down and he like freaked out real hard, because as soon as this was public, he messaged me. I guess that was like the first of the two new DM chains, and then I feel like he just took it and then told his lawyer, like, whatever you got to do, go point by point down the rules and contest everything, every possible avenue you can.
Yeah. Yep. And they say for all these reasons, it should be denied its entirety. Well, and it's still, if they're going to go up to that Rule 4 thing, why don't you start with that and leave? Like,
it would have been such a cleaner motion to just be like, this doesn't qualify because it's pre-trial. And like, I think that would actually have been a better, smarter thing, because then the judge could just be like, well, it does say shall not be, so therefore.
Yeah.
Now it's like he's cluttered it with all this other stuff and buried his actual good argument in the middle of the fucking thing.
And this is like, you're starting babbling about kiwi farms and this attorney put his wrong number down. It's like, you wasted a whole page on this crap.
Yeah, and because I don't know, I assume this doesn't really apply with legal arguments, but when you have like this 9-page real estate and like your good merit is like half of one paragraph on page 3, and then the rest of it is like bullshit, I think there's like a mental element to that too, where it's like that puts it equal weight. Like the really meritorious argument is also like 1/3 the weight of the bullshit, and then it gets assessed that way.
Yes, this is Everett Scott. This is actually really good. This is like letting a 9-year-old raid the coke jar and then letting him use all the cocaine. Yes. Remember though, chat, he was stunned when he learned about that. Although he said in court that might be happening weeks before he learned about it happening. A little weird. Just a little weird. Not so funny though. Guys, we are going to get to his dad's testimony in a second here, but I wanted to catch up on some of these because some of you guys.
Dad testified in what?
Yeah, at the Children's Services hearing.
Is this recent or is this like an old thing that came out?
This is from the Minnesota. You're not even paying attention to what's going on in your own. So Minnesota Public Records has been releasing the June 6th hearing, and that's the one where the guardian ad litem testified. That's where Alicia Sweep testified. That's the one where Nick says she committed perjury. She lied.
Okay.
And that's where he walks.
Attention. It's just that there's a lot going on. Okay,
No,
give me a break.
You're busy. I understand. You're a busy man. You're fighting you got a lot of fires. Although it's great, Russell drools on him and he can put out a lot of fires.
No, I should hire him. I got a job for you, buddy.
Strap him to the bottom of an airplane and just go, yeah.
Have to be careful about what I'm saying.
Yes, that's the one he like, as Nick says, he walks, which I think it's funny when he tells these stories of confronting people. It's always a woman. He's like, I walked up to her and said, "You lied." I'm sure that happened. I'm sure that happened in his mind.
Somebody even pointed out, I thought it was a really good point, that he does have like this habit of gloating about like cornering women in courthouses and like yelling at them. It's like he's like a 6-foot tall man, like 6'5". He's really tall, and it's just like finding random women he has an issue with and like physically confronting them in courthouses. And it's like now it's a trend.
Well, I was just thinking, imagine him all like Nick. That's Nick still kind of strung out. With his, I don't know if he got that weird haircut in the meantime, but him all coming up to you all like skeletally and be like, "You lie." Like, I'm sure she's like, "Okay, have a good one," and walked away.
I'm sure she's been confronted by all sorts of fucking weirdo.
Oh, I'm sure she has. I'm sure she has. I'm sure she's been confronted by people who are actually dangerous.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was
gang tattoos on you, so you can fuck back off, Arcada.
Yeah. Yeah, Scorpio sent $10. Thank you, Scorpio. I left him speechless. Jasper, we already talked about that one. Alex says, funny and weird things you mean. Yes. Brimstone says, check out Nick's tweets. No, we are not going to give. He wants the attention.
Yeah, he's just floundering around calling everybody pedophiles and shit. It's real fucking sad.
Which that's really worked out for him so far.
It's an ugly and ineffective tactic, if I do say so.
It almost worked for Montegraph. And then V.M says, you can't hold these clips against him. He wasn't taking cocaine when he made these comments.
He wasn't himself.
No, yes. Yes. Kevin H. gifted 5 memberships. Thanks, Kevin. If the Baldo doesn't fit, you must quit. Roscoe says, I remember when Nick would explain that as a Scrivener's error. Yes, I agree. It is a Scrivener's error, but no, it's a fatal. Nick could go in there screaming about how it's perjury. Saying Nick's tricks and licks, formerly Sneeds. Oh no. Alyssa Marie says they started with their best argument. Yeah, that was their best argument, saying there was a typo. Sleazy says, here's 10 to keep someone spurging going on Twitter. Well, thank you. And Fire Pixie gifted a membership. Well, thank you very much for that. And then Fire Pixie says, someone gifted me one. I'm just returning the favor. Well, thank you. And Gigi Evans says, "You're loving this, aren't you, Sean?" I mean, it's content, sure. And Nick has said it before, content's content. Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's somebody I know, so do I wish this were happening? No. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I
At the end
definitely
of
would
the
have
day.
preferred a timeline where Nick Rekieta was like a reliable person to have around. Because like
Yeah.
the streams that he did when he was sober or mostly sober,
Mhm.
and also like a friend of the forum and a personal friend and someone who was super high profile, it's really
Mhm.
nice to have. It's not nice to have an angry, belligerent drunkie calling you and people that you talk to pedophiles because you want to see body cam footage. That's just not the place where I want it to be at this point.
Yeah. I mean, like, would I rather see this being like, Russell Greer or Acer Thorne in this situation? 100%. Would I love it if, Mr. Beast gets rolled up by the feds instead? Yeah, Nick was out here covered and we're all laughing and chuckling and shit. Yeah, that would have been so much fun. But that's not where we are. That's not where the road led us.
Yeah, and it's also sad knowing that there's like no going back. Like we're just gonna, and Rekieta probably doesn't have the gray matter left to like acknowledge that this is fucked beyond repair. So we're just gonna get to see Rekieta streaming to like Ethan Ralph numbers, like the 200 people, and he's gonna keep trying to do the law splitting thing, even though there's like now an entire like cottage industry with dozens of people who do it better than he does, and we're just gonna see that for like years at this point.
Yeah.
Assuming, and my assumption is that he's probably going to get like is it probation when you're just given like a suspended sentence as opposed to
it's not really like it's basically probation, kind of like what happened with Boogie. Boogie was on probation basically, even though he was on like a suspended sentence. You're monitored by the probation department. You have to follow the rules of probation basically. Stay out of trouble, no drugs, no alcohol, complete all the requirements we give you, and be a good boy, and then eventually we can dismiss it. So yes, even a suspended sentence, you're basically on probation at the end of the day. It's easy to treat it like that. What's that?
Which is more severe? Do they like just hand you down like a suspended sentence?
I mean, the way a lot of suspended sentences work are, I mean, like here in Ohio, for example, they pass. You enter plea of guilty. They don't find you guilty yet. They hit pause, basically, and they allow you to try to complete programming to, get clean, follow all the rules. You've got like 2 years to get your shit together. And then if you complete that, the judge says, well, since we hit pause and I never convicted you, we dismiss the case. Or if you're out in this time frame, you fuck up, we come back to the judge and the judge can go click and hit play. And okay, since you pled guilty, now I find you guilty and we move on from there. It all depends on how the exact mechanics of Minnesota do it. But it'd probably be some sort of.
Is that your prediction for like the outcome that he's probably going to plea out for like? Yeah,
I think so. Why wouldn't you? I mean, it's you have a chance to make it all. I mean, Nick has a chance to literally make it all go away. I don't know why you wouldn't take that.
Well, I think that he number one, he's a druggie. Like his brain is different than it used to be. It's altered irreparably. So he may not want to. He also has a lot of pride just in general.
I know, and we all do, and I think he's got a lot. But I think that's his best bet. I would, But that said, though, it's got to be what's available on the table.
Yeah, I would actually tell me. I kind of even want to say this because it might give them ideas. I'm gonna write it to you actually.
Okay, you can. While you're doing that, I'll answer this real quick. Brenda says maybe they should stream about my addiction food. Sure. And I've been working on that. And here's the thing, Brenda, I'll get skinnier before Nick gets clean. I'm just saying. And you never have to worry. Like that's normally with kids and food, it's that they're not eating. So I understand that was a bit of an own here, but I'm sure that his kids would have liked to have lived in a house with somebody who had an addiction to food, because they would have been able to eat, not just SpaghettiOs once in a while. So I get it. You tried so hard. And you didn't get so far. So I'm sorry, Brenda. Ozempic, it works. That shit like puts a hole in your stomach. I don't want to try that stuff.
Yeah, that has nasty side effects. It's not just
there's a lot of problems there. Josh, hold on. Let me see what you're saying here. Okay. I could see that being an issue. I could see that being part of the gambit.
Would that be a legit argument to make in one of these motions?
I don't think so, because you get too much into the hypothetical about what they're thinking and what they're doing, and you probably shouldn't focus on that. I don't think you should focus on that ultimately.
Yeah, I didn't want to.
I wouldn't.
It's a clever thought.
It is clever, and I'll give Hardin a call too, because I'll have some free time coming up. But the one thing I think, and people keep forgetting about, is, and I mentioned this on my locals, knowing Nick, I'm sure Nick has gotten he's demanded from his attorney every scrap of discovery, which includes everything that's been generated, which means I guarantee you Nick's got a copy of the body cams kicking around in his house somewhere on CD.
Man. Dude, he has.
Which I'm just saying. So his arguments of I can't show them, it's like, I bet you've got them. If you really want to show them, you could show us. Especially after your case is over. Like what? What are they gonna do?
See, he's gonna epically own me by streaming his own body cam footage.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna put it on locals or something. He's gonna break in super chats. That's the gambit.
Oh yeah, no, that would be. I mean, if he did that, my hat would be off to him.
I mean, if he knew, if it gets entered into evidence, we get it automatically, no questions asked.
Mm-hmm.
So if he knew that it was going to come out anyways, that would be the smart thing to do.
Yes.
Fucker.
Agrill is saying, do you get community service on? It's all dependent on what the judge wants to do. I mean, these programs and how things are done. This, like deferred sentencing and suspended sentences. Yeah, the probation department might say, yeah, hey, you need to go do community service for a little bit. Go do this, go do that.
Probation and suspended, it's like you're not free, right? Like you're technically in custody of the state, so they can basically ask you to do anything they want.
Well,
right?
I mean, to an extent. But yes, he's, Nick was crying about the activity police. Well, guess what? Guess who tells you what you can and can't do? The probation department. The probation department does all kinds of stuff, like, hey, come pee in a cup. Hey, Nick works from home, so they're gonna say, if you didn't work from home, they would show up at your job, make sure you're working. Hey, when you come in for your probation meeting this month, bring your pay stubs. Do this, do that.
Well,
who are you hanging out?
Case in California where a woman went ape shit on like a Subway sandwich artist lady and got convicted in her probation terms, where she had to work at Subway for
that happened here. That happened here in Cleveland.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think that was I think that was unconstitutional.
Really?
I don't think that's a 13th Amendment. You cannot compel somebody to go work, because what happens? Who gets paid? Like, you're forcing that person to go do work. Like,
the 13th Amendment explicitly says that they can make slavery a condition of a conviction.
Yes, but I don't think in that situation it does count as a probationary thing. Number one, and number two, if she's already got a job, what does she have to say? Sorry, I can't work this job because I got to go work another job. Like, I think you run into a lot of issues there.
I mean, we could put you in jail for a month instead.
Well, I know that's probably why her attorney looked at the girl and said, "Shut the fuck up and go do it." Because we could appeal. You're going to sit in jail for 6 months.
Yeah. So. Yeah. No shit. I think that's a great idea.
I mean, well, or you could just, like where I went to law school at, or when I went to undergrad at, a guy got caught abusing horses. He had to work at the county fair for like 2 years straight, wearing a shirt that says "I abuse animals" and cleaned out the horse stalls. Like, that's public shaming, and have her stand out in front of the thing saying "I abuse Subway workers." That would be effective. And make her stand there with a sign every day for like 2 weeks straight or something.
In Switzerland, they make everybody do mandatory service with the military. I think in the U.S., we should make people do mandatory service with fast food. It gives you an appreciation of things you don't have until you work fast food.
Well, like that, or like I worked at FedEx. I was like, I learned a lot about doing shit jobs. I mean, I've done sewer construction before. Like, I learned a lot about, you learn a lot when you get covered in shit and water and bits of toilet paper. It happened. It wasn't fun. Let's see.
There's something I was going to say about Rick Hayden. It has completely eluded me.
Okay, well, you can get to it whenever you get to it there. Let's see. There's a couple more we're going to get to right now. Stephen Cooper gifted 10 memberships. Thank you, Stephen. Fred Rush is a new member. Thanks, Fred. Sweet Papa Stovepipe. See, could you make an argument this is meaningless since Nick admits he uses the website himself? Well, Nick says he isn't on there. He says people tell him what's on there.
That's such bullshit. He's such a fucking liar. I don't know. There's so many things that he lies about continuously that it's just like, what is even the point? And that's why I think he's pathological liar, because I think he just gaslights people for fun. And it's like, I'm not stupid. I know that you think you're really fucking clever, but I'm not that stupid.
Yeah. And Jermaine Down says, if protecting the defendant's children was the defendant's priority, we wouldn't be here. Yes, well, I know that if you tried to make that argument in a motion, that wouldn't go very well. So, and Losnav Levok for 10 Romanian, I don't know what they call them. Rons. Actually, here, what do they call those?
Ron isn't Romanian, is it?
I don't know. Romanian currency. It's a Romanian leu, I think. But I think
Romanian lei is what it says.
Oh, lei? Okay, yeah. It's it's lei, yeah. I'm sorry. I thought it was leu. Pronouncing it like an American.
In their language it is leu or something.
Lei.
I don't know.
Yes. He says, you are first in my heart. Oh, thank you. And then Scarebro says, for T99, Nick laying down the groundwork to call the farms a bunch of PDFs, leaking DMs to get that wee moment, and then going on a convenient PDF tear the same day he files about McKeeds and rants about it on X, breaking silence. Well, I mean, it wasn't really that quiet before, though. And then Kenshin, and then Kenshin says, what's the chance now Nick tries to do a 5D backtrack and say, wow, Josh, calm down. I never said you wanted to see my kids. Isn't it funny and weird when you spurg out after that pedo from my uncles got exposed?
This is what he does, and it's extremely infuriating because he'll say XYZ. The big one is that he implies the biggest one that I've seen him do is that he says, well, you don't know what's in your house, implying that, you know, someone planted evidence. And then he says, you don't know what cops bring into your house, implying specifically that cops planted evidence in this case. And then when called out on it, he says, well, I didn't say that. But I realize now that his I didn't say that line is a double slimy line because it's also not a denial. He didn't say, no, that's not what happened. He says, I didn't say that. And he does this a lot. He always gives the I didn't say that line over, no, that's not what happened. Because then he could go back on it again and say, well, no, that didn't happen, or yes, that happened, if it benefits him later on. So it's like it's like everything that he's like trained his brain to be as slimy as possible.
Well, that's when I deal with witnesses and I'm cross-examining people and they're like, I didn't say that. What did you say? What did you mean? Share it with the class. Did you mean X? You meant this, didn't you? And he'd be like, well, no. I'm like, then what did you mean? So yes, and Dazoon for 7 loonies or 3.5 toonies. So would you rather litigate 100 Baldos or one coked up Baldo wearer? I mean, 100 inanimate Baldos just laying there. I mean, I think that'd be pretty easy to defeat at the end of the day. And then Cerebral Parasite gifted I got to do the PPP thing. Gifted 70 stubs. Holy shit. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much for that. I appreciate that. And I'm sure the 70 people in here were very appreciative as well. What is the people talking about, Ralph? Yeah. Anyways, we're going to look at what Nick's dad said if you want to stick around. I don't know if you're interested in that or not, but
I am.
You can join.
I can't wait.
Okay, yeah, let's go for it. All right. An interesting new article is attached. Here we go. And I'm gonna rip off Meme Copium by using Paint because that is a brilliant way to do the highlighting. Josh is a smart guy. Josh is a smart guy. Oh, how do I make that?
There's a highlighter one. It's like is that what you're looking for?
Yeah. Well, how do I make it thicker?
There's 11. I don't recognize that interface.
Well,
one of them is a highlighter. It's the tool on the left there, around there.
Yeah.
It's like at the middle bottom. Is that the highlighter?
No, that's the dripper or the dropper. Oh, that's the side. There we go. All right. Okay. So this is the best I can do is sharpening it in Photoshop chat. So we're gonna have to zoom out a bit. So we get to it. They call up Nick's dad. So he gets to go. And Miss Weber is Nick's attorney. Remember, this is the attorney Nick thinks is a walking malpractice factory, which based on whose standards, but that's what Nick says. And this is Nick's dad, and he says, well, where do we live? We live in St. Petersburg, but we own a house in Eagle Lake, Minnesota. And they say, how often have you seen Nick in the last 6 months? And he says like 6 or 7 times, maybe 5 to 7. So they've been up quite a bit. But they have that ability, boomers are retired. They can show up all the time. So they talk about, 7 times in the last 6 months. And how long do you stay on average? About a week. You know what? That's good. Kids get to see their grandparents. Like, what's not to love about that? And they say, in this time we're here, we just have an open-ended return. Well, I'm sure they've had an open-ended return lately. And is that due to the removal of the kiddos? And he says, yes, we want to help out, give Sherry and Dan, and that's Kayla's parents, with the kids.
Does the lawyer really say kiddos?
Yeah.
What the
In juvenile court hearings, it's a lot more relaxed. I mean, like it's super intense at times, but you're like, yeah, the kiddos, like that's not like, I've heard about that before. It happens. I mean, it's not really like nobody's going to say that's improper.
It's such a Reddit word, and it makes me flinch when I hear it.
Well, she's probably a boomer though, so I mean, like you're thinking of Reddit. She just like probably a nice lady.
It's entered like public lexicon in the United States now. People just say kiddos.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
oh my god,
she's a boomer. Gosh, she's a boomer. She's a boomer lady up in rural Minnesota, so it's like Fargo. It's like, don't you know what the kiddos? Yeah, like, just give her a bit of a break here. Give her a bit of a break. She's trying. She's trying here.
That's what really matters.
Yeah. Well, it's the John Coffey defense. I done tried hard, boss.
Okay. How are the kiddos doing?
Yeah, and you guys can, if you guys can't read that, let me know. That's probably the best I can do. It says, when did you make the move to St. Petersburg? And he says 2018. I think we finally got our cat out of there in February. And you got to make sure you have your cat, and the cats rule everything. That's pretty much true. And they made Florida their official residence. Yeah. We could skip on all this. And they point out that they're able to come back and forth all the time. And they're very fortunate to do that. And that's not really important to what we're at. And they'll say, okay, so, and she says, okay, and in the course of this time that you've seen Nick as an adult, have you seen his parenting? And he's like, yes, I have. How would you describe his parenting abilities with the kiddos? And he said, I know he has an undying love for his kids. I know he'll do anything for them. He participates in all their activities, be it which one's soccer games or the other one's acting, things like that. So very involved. Have you ever seen any unsafe parenting by your son? No. And just so we're clear, when I say unsafe, what does that mean to you? Anything that will put the kids in danger. Is there a for instance that might come to your mind? And he says, well, just as an example. And he's like, not necessarily related to them, but if you saw a parent drunk driving kids around, that's not a good thing. Oh, it's like somebody should have let him read the police reports before he says that.
Yeah, someone mentioned in the forum, and now it makes sense. Is that I wonder what Nick told his dad about the arrest.
Oh, like the parents get there and the kids are gone. The doors, this was something when it first came out. I know on the farms they were all upset about me for saying like, they battering rammed the door in, but they didn't hit it hard. It's not like the SAS blowing the door off the hinges and like almost killing the kids. Like they hit the door just hard enough to pop it open, which doesn't take much force.
And that's something that's an interesting matter of public concern is the door battery, because Rekieta now has alleged on his streams that they made a forced entry without any reason to. It says in the police report that they asked for the code and Rekieta outright refused. So now I'm really curious, and if only there was some kind of footage that were available to
yes, if there was only the footage of Nick being stopped on the side of the road, we could find out what happened. I mean, we could start with the point. We could get that point up to when he gets the warrant and throws it on the ground, and that would help us a lot to know what happened. But yes, I do wonder what he said to his mom and dad, where it's like, they show up in the house, looks like a war zone. The kids are gone. And they're like, what happened, Nick? He's like, I don't know. He's like, those goddamn police. Am I right?
I have a feeling, based just off the timeline, I think that they got the kids before they talked to Nick. That's just how it seemed like to me.
Oh, yeah. They entirely did.
I've spoken to a woman who worked with a anti-sex trafficking organization. And her job was a placement coordinator for victims of sex trafficking that were getting out. So her job was, and the lady is a saint. She, because what would happen is that the police would get the person who needed a home, and they would call her at any hour of any day at any time and say, we got somebody. And she couldn't, because of her position, she's not allowed to take them in herself. So she might bring them to her house, but they would only stay with her for a couple hours as she like went down the list of people who had rooms available, and she would ring them all up. So I imagine it's like that. The HHS lady comes out no matter what time, takes the kids, they're in her office or whatever. I'm sure it's like one of those drab, miserable offices with like little toys that are well used everywhere.
This one, though, it didn't sound like that happened at all. It sounded like Nick and April got taken off to the Huskow right away. Kayla stayed there while they called Kayla's parents or somebody to come get the kids. Because the way I understand it, her family's right in the area. They came by, got the kids, locked it up, and then they hauled Kayla off to the jail.
Yeah.
So that didn't happen this time. And I honestly, for those kids, I hope it turned out that way. They're at least sitting in their sitting outside their house and not having been carted off to, the shitty Job and Family Services building.
Yeah.
But yes, I do wonder when Nick's parents came over to help clean up and they're like, Nick, what happened? And he's just like, I'm sure I'll tell you the whole story later.
Like the whole scene, your kid's like you have this idea that your kid's like this successful internet lawyer who's making tons of money, who's in documentaries, and then you just get a call out of nowhere. It's like, you got to come here like right now. And then you roll up and there's like 12 squad cars, all 5 kids are just sitting on the curb. Kayla's there and she's like in handcuffs or whatever, and the doors open and people are hauling shit out of the house. Like, I'm sure it's a fucking living nightmare, like unreal scenario.
See, I don't have to worry about that because my parents think I'm a fat retard, so I'm already like, I don't have to worry about any of this. I'm not the smart kid. I'm the retard. So, and they keep going though. And speaking of that, have you ever seen your son intoxicated? He said, I have not seen him intoxicated. Now, intoxicated could be like, and she says, well, let me put it to you this way. Have you ever seen anyone else intoxicated? And he said, I haven't seen. And she's like, he said, I don't know if that came out right. He said, I have seen people intoxicated. Yes. And he says, what stands out to you when you've seen somebody intoxicated? They're slurring and steady on their feet, acting goofy, acting the way they wouldn't normally act. And they say, so if you know somebody that's a quiet person, maybe they're loud. And he says, yeah, sure. And I know one of the topics has been the use of illegal drugs, so not something other than booze. And he says, yep. And they say, have you ever seen your son to be under the influence of something, maybe not necessarily alcohol, that's made you suspicious? Nope. And that alone isn't necessarily an issue because most people and families haven't seen their family members using drugs.
Yeah, that's why the lady is really adamant that all the grandparents get what they call like
Exactly. Yes.
Substance awareness counseling, so that they can't be gaslit as easy.
Yeah, because they have to know. And then she says, have you ever seen anyone under the influence of something other than alcohol? And he says, after the fact, but not while I was actually viewing them. Which, that could easily be, in hindsight, Nick. So when you're asked about the signs of drug use, and I'm not speaking of alcohol, but drugs, what signs would you look for? And he says, the way I answer that question is, you have people that look totally fine. You find out later aren't. When we're on some kind of substance. And then you have the opposite people that may look like, oh, they don't look good, but they're just fine. That's not really, I don't really understand how that's an answer, but okay. And then he says, that's why when I answer the question, do you know what someone who uses drugs looks like? I say, I don't, because I don't. After the fact, I may learn it, but during the actual time, there's nothing I could definitively say, yeah, that guy's on drugs, or that person isn't on drugs. It's like,
that's really relatable, because I'll bump into people who are like crazy, and I just assume that they're like a crazy person, and then I'll have a friend like, oh fuck, he was on something, he was on this. I'm like, oh really? You know that for sure? He's like, yeah, for sure, that's what it was. I'm like, oh, I just thought they were a lunatic.
Yeah, and this is where I will say, this goes back to it, but I'm willing to be educated. And for me personally, I wasn't around a ton of people using drugs or severely fucked up as a kid. Even through college, okay, yeah, people are drunk, but everybody's normal during the day. It's only once I became an attorney I really got exposed to, like, okay, like we could sit at the park, like, okay, that guy looks like he's tweaking, that guy looks like he's jonesing for a hit. Like, you can tell when people are addicted, but otherwise you can just say, yeah, that guy looks like he's, got mental health problems. And then sometimes you're just like, so I don't disagree with them saying I'm willing to be educated on it. Or as Monty might say, he wanted to be learned or learned. And then he says, have you been provided with any resources yet from the agency? And he says, nope, not yet. Remember, this is June 6th. So everything had just happened within the week. And they say, do you think you could possibly do some of your own investigation? Maybe watch some YouTube videos, as Mr. Griner suggested, the kids' attorneys. You like watching Nick streams? Because those would be the best ones. Here is your subject matter intoxicated.
Listen, your son is predisposed to believing that there is a cat in the ceiling.
Yeah.
If you see him looking at this cat that does not exist, you know he's on something.
Yes. If you see your son drinking out of metal aluminum cans that you haven't opened in front of you, that should be a concern. And he says, there's no doubt in my mind I could do that, and will do that as soon as asked, or, they tell me. He says, as soon as I get home. And it's like, okay, that's fair. It's not like he's got to sit there on his phone and, like, start reading. And he says, like, well, I might eat lunch first. And as a fat guy, I know his dad's not fat, but I totally relate to that. I get that. I feel him. We got to eat. First, you got to eat. You got to sustain yourself. You don't want to die of starvation while you're trying to take care of the grandkids. And they talk about the status of Nick and Kayla's home. When I read the reports, it looked like it was really messy when law enforcement got there. Has that been your experience going to their home? It's been messy. And he says, it has at times been messy. There have been times it's messy. And she says, like, what kind of messes are we talking? And he's like, well, it's generally clothes in piles, sorted in piles, waiting to be washed, clothes that have been folded, either in totes, or like something that's going to be hung up. It might be on the back of a couch, things like that. There's 5 kids and 2 adults. Yeah, and that's a lot of laundry. 7 people is a lot of laundry. And they say, is that something you would expect in a home of 5 kids and 2 adults? And he says, when they stay at our house for a couple of days, I can see it. And this is where
sneak diss.
What's that?
That's a sneak diss. That's saying they fuck up his house when they're over.
Well, no, I mean, it's just that's having a lot of people over there will turn your house into a war zone. This is where, because I haven't read this yet, I'm hoping Kristen Pierce says, when you went to the house recently to clean it up, did it just look like that, or what did you see, sir? And I'm sure he'll be like, Oh no, it was a lot worse. And they say, have you ever been over to the Riqueda's home? Have you ever seen anything you thought looked like drugs? And he says, nope. He says, do you know what drugs look like? And he says, I know from actually from years ago. And he's like, I saw cocaine in person, which back in the 80s, I'm sure he did see cocaine. It's like, so it's a white powdery substance. I know that. I know what a joint looks like. And a lot of this is pretty much from television as opposed to personal experience, which it's like, yeah. And then when they talk about drug paraphernalia, do you know what you're talking about? He's like, I would assume like a bong would be drug paraphernalia. And he says like he says, needles. I think he was going to say hypodermic, but he's like out of place needles, things like that. And they said, have you ever seen anything like that in Nick and Kayla's home? And he says, no. And I want to ask him, like, really, when you were cleaning the house, you didn't find like crusty white things laying around? Although, to be fair, Nick probably like licked them clean.
Well, he came and cleaned up after they had already searched the house, right?
Yeah, but I'm sure they didn't find everything. They never find everything.
Yeah, maybe. I know that they took out a bunch of paraphernalia.
Yeah, they did, but I'm sure there was still other paraphernalia.
Look, maybe they searched that bedroom real good, and they were just really tidy about it. They had all their needles and all their crack pipes and shit sewed up right next to the Baldo and the St. Andrew's cross. They're very.
It was all organized. Yeah.
Yeah, perfectly.
Now this part here, I heard about this earlier, and she said, if you were ever to see anything like that in your children's home, what would you do? He said, I would approach them and ask them what's going on. And she says, if they kind of gave you the brush off, what would you do? And he says, I would press. It's like, I would press the question. Which is really nice because my dad would say, what the fuck are you doing? There wouldn't be a pressing of the question. He's like, what the fuck is this? What are you doing? Are you fucking stupid? Not like, son, are you dabbling in the white stallion? Like, are you doing the cocaine? And he said, I would try to get to the heart of the matter. What's there to give it to the heart of the matter? There's drug paraphernalia. That means there's drugs being used. And then he says, if they gave a reasonable answer, okay, that's one thing. Like, what's the reasonable answer here? Like, no, Dad, you got it wrong. This is decorative cocaine. Look, it's just meant to sit here. Look at it. Doesn't it look cool? It shows I got wealth and opulence. Like, what's the reasonable answer? That's. What is your reasonable answer for cocaine? I don't know. I don't know what your reasonable answer for cocaine is, but then he says, then why is it here? Let's get rid of it. And Nick will be like, no, this is special cocaine, Dad. We can't just do that.
I'm just holding it for my buddy Aaron.
Yeah. Well, look, if we put the cocaine outside, Dad, the raccoons might get into it.
No,
I don't want to get the raccoons sick.
You don't want a bunch of fucked up coons.
Yes, you don't want that either. You don't want the birds eating the cocaine. But the answer is unreasonable. Once again, this really belies the issue of what is a reasonable answer. My wife and I would, he said I shouldn't speak for her, but I would think we would press the issue and get to a conclusory answer. I love how he talks about like pressing the issue. It's like corporate speak. Like I can only like imagine that if you're.
He sounds very stuffy to me. He sounds like someone who probably did like accounting or something really boring, and he's being confronted.
Well,
with,
he was like a computer engineer or something. He's actually a very smart guy, but he's like, I would press the issue and it's like diagnose it. It's like, no, there's fucking drug paraphernalia. Like we're not.
From his perspective, he's like a 60-year-old man, and he's in like court, right? So it's like he's sitting in a courtroom. They're like, "Well, what would you do if you saw that your son had cocaine?" And it's like, I don't know if his gut reaction is to like scream and throw it at him and call him a fuck up. Like he's not gonna say that. He's like, "Well, I would inquire further."
Yeah. Well, but the way he's answering it, it's almost like he wants to be like James Lipton on Inside the Actor's Studio, like. But why do you have this? What makes you want to do it, Nick? Like, what's the reason, the impetus behind this? It's like, no, he's using cocaine. That's what matters here.
Yeah, I mean, it is his son. I guess it's like when they do those interrogations and they're afraid of like they ask like the guy they know is the murderer, like, what do you think should happen to this
Yeah.
to the murderer of this child? And the guy's like, well, I think he should get a fair trial, and then life, maybe without parole, even.
Yeah.
Well, it's like that. It's like, well, he's talking about his own son. They're asking him like, well, what do you think should happen to a cocaine user?
But no, and that's the thing though. Like, I'm 100% serious. If that were to happen here, and like my dad came in and found cocaine in the house, or drugs in the house, or drug paraphernalia in the house, he'd say, "What?" Like, there would be a lot of screaming, yelling, like, "What are you doing? Are you a fucking retard? You need to get into rehab. Like, we need to fix this, like, right now." There isn't going to be. Well, there is no reasonable answer. My dad, if he saw the pile of, Dad, it's decorative cocaine, he knocked that off the table into a big cloud. And then the dog would get high. But there's no reasonable answer. That's why I'm a little confused here. And then she says, okay. And then she says, would you hesitate to call Child Protection Services if the kids were in the home? And he says, if the kids were in danger, I would not.
I assume that he's trying to say that if they're in urgent danger, he would not prioritize calling over like handling the situation.
I agree, but it's at some point it's like, well, what's your definition of danger? Because that's where it's like, what do they have to be doing? And once we get to the bottom of things, I would not hesitate to call. Like,
yeah, they're trying to give him answers. Basically, he should just say yes, but he's like, well, I don't know.
Yeah, but the way he's phrasing this, it almost sounds like, if my son gave me a good enough bullshit answer, I'd be like, okay, well, have fun, son.
Saying, but that's not what they want to hear.
Yes. And they say, would you call law enforcement? Things got out of hand. He said, I don't want to speculate on that. And that's fair. I don't think my parents would snitch me out, but they would not just be going like, oh, is there a reasonable answer? Let's talk about it, son. What's troubling you? And then Kayla's attorney gets to go. That's why I clicked the wrong thing there. And he doesn't ask very much here, because he says, if you were asked the same question about Kayla's parenting abilities, would you answer him the same? And he says, yep. And the questions you heard asked about your son's drug use and interactions, would you give those same answers to Kayla? And he says, yep. And he's like, I'm done. And then the kids' attorneys go. Remember, the kids get their own attorney. And he says, if you're in the house, how confident are you that your he's like, your grandchildren are there with you in the home of your son and daughter-in-law? How confident are you your grandchildren will be safe under your watchful eye? 100%. I think there needs to be a citation there. And he says, why do you ask? And he says, because I've known Nick. I've seen how Nick and Kayla interact with the kids. I've seen how much the kids interact with them. And there is no doubt in my mind they're in absolutely no danger. I mean, except for the, ounce of cocaine. And then the kid's attorney goes, well, the county seemed to suggest that while you're sleeping, that your son and daughter-in-law might gain access to your grandchildren. Are you concerned about that? Not at all. Why not? It's like, because I've answered, I have complete confidence in their ability to take care of their kids and be there for them and do what is necessary to keep them safe. Which I think is, I hate to say this, like, I'm not trying to bag on them, but that is the most tone-deaf answer to give while you're in the middle of a children's services hearing.
Yeah.
I don't question their ability to take care of the kids. Buddy, literally everyone else does question their ability to take care of their kids. Everybody else is questioning the safety of the home. I can't believe he said that. I know they'll be okay. It's like,
I think that the severity of the situation is not really obvious to him.
Well, but just also,
have they read at this point, did they have the hair follicle test?
I think they already did, yes.
Did they, Rekieta was already arraigned, right?
Yes.
Does he
this
know
is
the
June 6th, so we're already Hold on here. That was D-Day. So 1 week. We're almost like, because he got arrested the 23rd. So we're almost like 2 weeks out from when it happened. So at this point, yeah, I think the hair follicle test came back.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah,
then,
this
I
is
mean,
the great point. It's like, sir, do you understand why we're here today?
Yeah.
Now, I get what I think he's trying to say. If you bring us into the home, we're following the case safety plan. I trust them at this point. Now, and that's maybe what he means. But it's not clear. And that I would argue that is actually a bad question that was asked.
In these child custody cases, I know it's complicated. You have the guardian ad litem, which is like an independent person who comes from like a charity or something, right?
No, not always. They're just the third party who can give an opinion, and their opinion isn't, because you're going to have like mom has an opinion, dad has an opinion, the agency's got an opinion, and then for these kids have their own opinion.
Yeah, well,
the guardian gets to say, okay, fuck everybody. Here's what I think needs to happen to protect the kids.
I was under the assumption because of in low tax, he had a custody issue and his child was appointed a guardian ad litem that he had to pay for, and it was like tens of thousands of dollars, which was part of the reason why he killed himself. But in this instance, the kids have their own attorney, but the attorney's not the guardian ad litem though. So they get their own court-appointed attorney and then also guardian ad litem.
Because they might have different interests than what the guardian wants. The guardian might say, like at this point, the guardian said they can't go home yet, and the kids are like, "We want to go home." Well, now
I would suspect that the attorney would be acting in the child's interest. Is he not? Is he doing something else?
So the guardian can't act if there's a difference in what the guardian and the child want to do. Generally, the guardian tells the court, and they appoint an attorney who's going to sit there and advocate for the child. So Attorney Griner is there for the children. The children want to go home to mom and dad, and he's saying, let's get them home. And that's because he has to advocate for his client's thing. When you're the guardian, it becomes an issue of, well, now I'm trying to advocate for what's best for this kid, but it's not what that kid wants. And that becomes an issue of, how does it work? Is technically who's your client in that situation? So that's why they peel off and let another party represent the kids.
Yeah, it's really complicated. The child custody stuff is some of the most complicated.
Oh, it is. It is. It's very. Children's services cases can be very by the seat of your pants at times, but then they have very structured timelines and rules that cannot be messed with. So it's very interesting. It's very weird how they operate. But yeah, that's not uncommon to have the kids having their own attorney, and then the guardian doing their own thing.
So in this instance, if the kid's attorney is interviewing the father, what is his angle? Is he trying to argue or trying to determine for himself, or like what is he trying to accomplish?
Well, ideally ahead of time, Nick's attorney, Kayla's attorney, and the kid's attorney have all talked to Nick's dad, and we're like, okay, look, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to ask you. We're going to try to get the kids home as soon as possible. That's our goal. And,
the children's attorney would tell them that they're aligned on this goal.
Oh yeah, because Nick and Kayla, they all are aligned. They want to end the case and get the kids home ASAP.
But the guardian ad litem isn't a part of that discussion?
No, the guardian's not part of that discussion, because remember, as an attorney, we can talk to any witness we want. Even in a criminal case, I could go talk to the family of a murder victim if I wanted to. Now, normally they're going to tell me to go kick rocks, but you have the right to speak to any witness in a case. And those attorneys, especially if the witness is friendly and copacetic to what you want to do, you'll work that out ahead of time.
So would the guardian ad litem then talk to the parents and the custodians and then also the children and try to come to an independent determination based off that conversation?
Yes. So the way a guardian ad litem is supposed to do their job, you go interview everybody involved. So the guardian's going to go talk to Nick. He's going to go talk to Kayla. She's going to talk to the children that are probably old enough. So the 3 of them that are old enough, because you talk to an 8 or 9-year-old, there's only so much they're going to be able to say anyway. But you're going to try to get as much information as you can, where they're going to school, if you could talk to their teachers, if you could talk to the caseworkers involved, and you're going to try to condense all that down, and generally you produce a report. So like here in Ohio, when I do them, you put together a report and you talk about, here's all the people I interviewed, here's what they've told me, here's what I'm looking at, and then based on all that, here's my recommendation.
Are you a guardian ad litem because you're an attorney, or do you also volunteer for this?
Oh, no, I'm a guardian ad litem because as an attorney, I take classes for it. And then, for example, if a mom and like husband and wife are getting divorced and there's kids involved, well, what are we going to do? And there's conflict. The court will appoint a guardian ad litem, and then mom and dad have to pay for it. So they have to pay me money. And it's generally, they got to pony up some cash. I
see. So it's just like a side hustle, basically.
Well, it's kind of, but in children's services cases, mom and dad don't pot the piss in. They get appointed attorneys. The kids get a guardian ad litem because someone has to advocate for their interest. So they appoint an attorney to represent them. Nobody has ever billed for it. We bill through the public defender. Like, we submit billing to the court, and that gets submitted to the public defender's office, and they reimburse for that. So, because
but it's like separate from your attorney practice. You just also volunteer for this program that you have taken a class in to do.
Well, no, it's all part of my practice. So like, I'm bound by all the rules. It's not, I mean, it's
an interesting thing. So I'm a little bit curious about how it works.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm an attorney, but like, I'll go in there and, I can do a case of guardian ad litem, and like 20 minutes later have a kid come in for a speeding ticket, and we go take care of it that he hired me for. So it's not like you're for an attorney. It's no different than this case just gets appointed. You're given a case instead of like going out and hunting it down. And that's just because people in these children's services situations, like Nick and Kayla, are the exception that they have money. Most people are dirt poor. So
it must piss him off that guardian ad litem he hates is getting paid by him.
Well, that one's going to be a little different because Nick and Kayla are not indigent. They probably will be assessed at a reduced rate, possibly, for their attorneys. Although Nick fired him and fired Don Weber and brought in Francis White, so now he's like probably paying even more money to do all this.
Yeah, for sure. But if the guardian ad litem is appointed, they have to pay for that, right?
It all depends on how Minnesota and the courts look at it. But I would argue at that point, I didn't ask for that. That's not my fault. You guys did that, not me.
I mean, technically, there's a good argument to be made that it is your fault. We had to bring all these fucking people in to clean up your mess. You got to pay for it if you can.
Yeah, no, I get, and I get that, but I think the court's more saying like, I didn't choose for all this to happen. Yes, you could say your actions these are the consequences of your actions. No pun intended there with that joke. But I didn't bring this all up. This wasn't my fault. I didn't ask for a guardian ad litem. So I don't know. I don't know how they'll do it. And that's the least of Nick's worries.
I'm just saying it's funny.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Cale Burke saying you have to pay for guardian ad litems. I know by experience. Sure, you do. But if you're completely indigent, you probably don't.
They're not indigent, though.
No, they're not indigent. They're far from it. But I'd say like they are like the 1 out of 100. Most people, when the government comes and takes your kids, it's because everything's gone. Literally, the training wheels fell off the world in your situation. Like, you ain't got no jobs. Like, you're getting evicted. The kids don't have food. The kids, like, everything's falling apart.
Okay, Google Gemini says this. It depends. It matters on their ability to pay, their income, and also the complexity of the case. If the case is more complex, the court is more likely to ask the parents to contribute to fees. So if Ricada blows this shit out of proportion because he doesn't want to play games, they might get back at him by just saying, okay, also you have to pay the GAO.
Maybe. Like I said, there's probably a lot there to it. But I like I said, it's not like the Guardian's going to drop a $40,000 bill. So there's only so much.
In Low Tax's case, he got hit hard for that.
Yeah, but I don't think in this one she's done that level of work, and I don't know all of the situation for Low Tax. I don't know his lore as well as the others, but I don't think she's going to show up with like a here, Nick, you owe me 20 G's.
We'll see. If
Probably
it happens, he'll bitch about it really loudly.
Sure. I bet at the most it's probably like right now, like if you were to straight up make her do an itemized billing and do like an hourly rate of like $250, $300 an hour, I bet it's probably like 10 hours total, probably, if that at this point. Because she ended up, remember, getting fired too partway through. So who knows?
Did she? Did he actually get kicked out?
Well, not the Guardian. I'm sorry, not the Guardian. The Guardian's still there. But Nick's attorney, he brought in his attorney.
Oh.
He brought in the cocaine attorney.
I mean, it's the same fucking case. And he has to be careful about what he says in one and it affects the other.
Yeah. And it's not a bad idea, especially.
Just as an aside, because there's a lot to get through still with this, but just as a thought, I was talking about this with a reporter today, and they're going to write an article about it, presumably. He's actually in your chat. I saw him super chat something.
Will Herring?
Yes. I was speaking with him, and I was reminded of something interesting that was brought up at the beginning of Rekida's problems, but I haven't heard iterated again. Because I think with the Montegraph stuff, it's sort of like it's all kind of in the back burner now.
Yes.
But the way that the courts are set up is that I believe in civil court, you don't have a right to remain silent, right? If you get deposed and you choose not to answer a question, it's interpreted in the worst way possible. That's how the jury's instructed. So if Monty's lawyer deposes him and says, "Hey, so about your character, you're in trouble for doing cocaine and getting your child high. Is that true?" And then he says, "I can't speak on that."
Well, the attorney would object and say relevance.
Well, he would object, but he would still have to answer or say. Like, I can't speak
at that point, well, normally you do answer, but on a situation like that, I would say, Nick, do not answer that. And that's one where you would, when you have that issue in a deposition, you never want to do this because it pisses off the judge. You go call the judge and you're like, basically going to grab an adult and pull her shirt tail and say, we can't get along. But in that situation, I would totally go to the judge and say, Judge, make a ruling right now on that.
About the questions regarding the criminal?
Yeah, but the questions regarding that.
But it really puts them in a bad... Okay, I didn't know that that's like a situation that can arise enough that they can like say like don't ask anything about the custody and the cocaine because it really gives Montegraph's an attorney like a huge advantage in the deposition, right?
There are some things he can do. And Nick also has to be careful of like not overly talking or overly explaining an answer and then opening the door. Now, if that were to happen, then yeah, Monty might be able to open the door and go forward.
Okay, so he has to take his extremely, extremely expensive attorney, Randazza, and Randazza has to talk to him billable hours on how not to open the door so that any of these questions can be asked.
Yes, Nick has to be very disciplined.
Really stressful deposition. He's there for like what, 8 hours? Is that like is it 6
it's like probably 6. I don't know. Minnesota gives you more, but yeah, it's going to be a couple hours.
6 hours where you can't fuck up. If you get upset or tired and you lash out and you say something you shouldn't have, if your pride gets hurt and you want to like respond in full, you just have to sit there for 6 hours and not fuck up.
And the other thing is, I mean, in the meantime, trying to schedule that deposition while he's got a criminal case pending, they're going to try to schedule things around that because that is not, fair to put him in that position.
Yeah. And we even have like a precedent for how he behaves in this situation because he objected incorrectly, I believe, in regards to hearsay in the custody case, and it was permissible hearsay because it was a child custody case. So we know if he thinks he's really clever, he'll lash out regardless, right? So we already know what he's like.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, children's services in those situations, there are rules of evidence, but there are times where the courts things are a little relaxed and things play fast and loose because it's an adjudication. It's an adjudicatory session. It's not a official trial. So the rules get a little lax. And, the more informal your hearing situation is, the more informal the rules get and can get. So that's why you have to be very careful. And the bigger point is, at the end of the day, Nick's arguing about like, oh, this attorney didn't know this, didn't know that. I'm like, he sounds like every every guy I've ever dealt with, when I'm like the second or third attorney in line for appointed counsel. Oh, that guy didn't know shit. I knew so much more than him. Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, you're sitting in jail right now. I don't think you knew that much.
Yeah, you didn't know. You didn't know that when the police are about to batter down the door, you have to give the signal. You have to really loudly go, "Caw-caw, caw-caw," and that's the signal that the women have to go inside and flush all the cocaine really, really quickly.
Yes.
Yeah. If you were really smart, you would have set that up.
Yes. No, I mean, that's still, though. I mean, if I was going to do illegal shit, I would be like, how do I handle the feds? How would I handle the police? How would I prepare? But, that's, you gotta, that's the difference between a practicing criminal and a non-practicing criminal, I guess.
That's a good one.
Bifron say, did they take down the door? No, they didn't, so they take their battering ram and they went probably up against the door hard enough to pop it open. It's a modern home manufactured built home with a modern door. So they probably split the door jamb a little bit, but the door closed and it probably still locked. It's not like when you watch in the videos and they hit it with the ram and they blow it off the hinges, or they put C4 up on the door and then blew it open. No, the door got basically shoved open. So yeah, it wasn't like the kids were hiding from the, shell fragments and everything. So, oh, is this Brock Lesnar's daughter? Jeez. Oof. All right, let's keep going here. Well, we're almost there. This is the kid's attorney again saying, do you know the difference between good parenting and bad parenting? And, Nick's dad's like, I would think so. And in the situation, if you would have any concerns about your son or daughter-in-law's parenting your children in their home with you, would you, in addition to pressing the issue, which, I'm waiting for them to throw in the word synergy at some point. Well, if after pressing the issue, the concern is not adequately addressed in your mind, would you be willing to take the children and move back to your place on Eagle Lake? He said, sure. And he said, would you in fact do that? He said, he's like, I can't. And he's like, I think I would. I can't say 100%. It's like,
yeah, just say yes, bro. Come on.
Yeah, just say yes. If they're doing bad, I'm going to go. But that would be as I'm sitting here today, would be what I would think I would do. And then he says, I'll be more specific. If there's an issue of concern you think maybe has potential to endanger your grandchildren, how confident are you that if it's that issue that isn't adequately addressed in your mind, that you'll take the measures? He's like, I would pack. And he's like, okay. He's like, I'm sorry to interrupt. Yeah, he's like, and they said if it was, and you couldn't fix it, he's like, I would pack them up and take them home immediately. And that's the answer you should have given right away. If they're fucking around, I'll take them immediately. Which I'm a little surprised they didn't talk with them earlier. Like, here's what we're going to ask you. Now, I can't tell you what to say, but I can ask you a question. You can answer it, and then I could say, ask you a question again, and you can answer it differently. I said, that's a good answer. I can tell you which answer is better. And they say, all right, anyone that's familiar with or has experienced drug addiction in their family, and I think you're indicating notices subtle changes of behavior or personality. Have you witnessed any sort of subtle changes of personality or behavior, like a dog barking? Hold on. She's boofing too much. Something's got her spooked. Have you witnessed any subtle changes or behavior in either your daughter-in-law or son that have given rise to any sort of concern that something's wrong? No, I have not. I mean, I guess he's still answering this from the pre-police raid, but I think he should be able to say now, yeah, something did change, but I kind of get why he's answering it that way. And they say, if you moved into the home with your grandchildren into the home of your son and daughter, would that be with your wife also? He says, yes, we might have to run back to Florida at some point, but one of us would or whatever. Yeah, we would do that. And it's like, okay, yeah, to be fair, they got to take care of their home. And he says, does she have the same perspective as you've articulated here on the stand today? And he said, I can honestly say she does. And he said, have you talked to her about it? He said, we talked about a lot of things. the kids, getting the reunification is the utmost priority. And that's true. That's always the goal. Reunification is always the goal, if possible. And making sure the grandkids have a healthy, good environment with people they know is right under that priority. And they said, so you've created a safety plan between yourself and your wife. And he said, an official safety plan? No, we haven't. And they say practical safety plan. And they say, so in other words, you have a plan in place that you talked out with your wife, what needs to be done to keep the grandkids safe. And he says, I could give a great example. We have a trip scheduled in July we paid thousands of dollars for, and we know the trip will be canceled if it's necessary for us to be here and help out. I don't know how that's a safety plan, but okay. But I guess he's trying to show the point that he's making the sacrifice. But
he's answering specifically the part you highlighted that says, otherwise know what needs to be done. I guess he's just trying to say, I'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah, and I think so too. But it seems like they could have worked with him on this to get a little better, because it's just clean it up a little bit. But yeah, and I know some people, I heard about this, people were mocking him for saying, hold on, John, sorry. I mean, you guys are saying because he has no job. Yeah, because he's retired. That's why. But yeah, it's just easy. People were making fun of her, saying, "Oh, well, they can give up their stuff." It's like, yes, that's still a lot of money to give up, and like that would be someone else saying, "I'm willing to give up, whatever it is I have going on in my personal life." So no, I think people yes, for them, they're willing to light that money on fire for their kids, their grandkids, which is good of them. That's what we'd want people to do. And then they say, how confident are you, Mr. Ricada, that home will be drug-free under your watch? 100%. And there's no other answer you can give there. How confident are you that it'll be drug paraphernalia-free? 100%, which I find funny. He gave all these beating around the bush answers, but now he knows when it's time to give the real answer.
I mean, he could still fuck those up. He could say well,
I know.
Percocet, so I don't know. Maybe the little kids will get into the perk.
Yeah.
He can still fuck that up.
I know, but I was just you got it right. So, any other questions? Nope. Now it's the prosecutor's turn, Miss Pierce. So they say, prior to the removal, when was the last time you and your wife were in Minnesota? And he says, we were there the previous week. It was the girls' dance recital or something the previous weekend. And we left the week before the raid, like Thursday before that Thursday or whatever. He says, so exactly a week before. And they say, and when you're here, do they come stay with you at your house? And he says, yep, we do. And then you talked, you're not readily familiar with the signs of use, correct? And he said, well, yes. And again, to clarify, if I see somebody, I don't generally know if they've been using drugs or not using drugs. And she said, well, you already said you think somebody could look fine and they're still using. And he said, yep. And this is where when you say things, this can be used against you. So it's possible that your son and daughter-in-law could be using and you didn't notice the signs. And he says, yeah, that's possible, but I have no idea. Because once again, this is why you keep things concise. When you talk, you talk, you talk. This is where you go. And she said that, would you agree having controlled substance in a home where a child can have access to it would be putting them in danger? And he'd say, as a general statement, yes. Yes, and it's as a general statement. I love how it's just yes, yes, yes.
They're in agreement. Okay.
Yeah, but they're just... it's funny to read, but you know how it went in your head.
Yeah.
So when you're here visiting and the kids come and stay with you, do you pick them up? Do they drop off, or are they dropped off? And he says there's generally different things going on depending on their activities for a particular day. I'll get up in the morning and they'll get some breakfast. And then depending on how things went the rest of the day, Nick and Kayla may come and grab one of them. April And he says their old nanny, and
Oh my god.
that's the funny part here. Like, you know, these have to be the most aloof people in the world. It's really like, oh my god. And then they spell her name, and I'm going to leave her out of this because she sounds like she didn't do nothing wrong. Said somebody will get them to whatever activity because sometimes it's just not feasible for one person or two people to do that. It's just very stressful. And so, I mean, it's fair to say that when you're here, like the kids are headquartered out of your house. And he says most of the time. And that you stay at your own house. Yes, on Eagle Lake. And you don't spend a ton of time in Nick and Kayla's house. That's a fair statement. So, yeah, what's been going on? You have no idea. And yeah, and that ends it. And I'm in public records. You are blue balling me by dragging this out. I need the rest of it. And that's where we are. That's where we are, chat.
Well,
Now,
I guess it kind of indicates that their parents are very oblivious to what's going on.
Yeah.
There's a stream that somebody posted on the forum where I think Nick's dad called in and they got drunk together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think that's what it was indicated. I didn't watch it though. But I mean, like casual drinking. I'm sure that his dad has managed to drink casually throughout his life without any issue. It's just Rikeda who, for whatever reason, was very interested in alcohol as like a sport.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that one isn't really taking care. I think for Nick, taking care of the drinking takes care of a lot of his problems. So, and the other thing too is I know he was showing his patch off last night, and it's like, I don't know if those patches detect alcohol. So that's the only concern I would have with those. But the patch he had. Those aren't necessarily all alcohol detection ones. I don't know which model they're using.
Is it so? It's like a patch you put on your skin.
Yeah, you didn't see him last night when he was like, "Hey, check this out! I've got a patch on my arm." And
no, I didn't.
Detection. Yeah, he had a chemical. They have a chemical detection patch. So the way it works is, when you're using substances, your body sweats and wicks them off through your skin naturally. So it can detect, and when you're wicking off like opiates or meth or cocaine or marijuana, it can detect that. Very much the same way here in America, they call them scram bracelets. They look like a big ankle monitor that you wear. And you have it on your leg, and it touches your skin. And if you're drinking alcohol, your body, perspirates, and it's invisible. It just basically kind of like off-gassing through your skin alcohol fumes, and it can detect the alcohol. So your body will do that, and the patch is meant to be a long-term detection method. That way they don't have to call them in every day to drug test. They can do it once a week or once every other week or however, whatever duration the patch they have set up for, they can take it and they can put it on him, and then later they can test it and observe it and see what's registering.
We truly have cutting edge technology to deal with drug addicts.
Yes. Well, it's cheaper than making them show up every day.
Yeah, I suppose that's the driving motive. I mean, it's a really in demand thing. Every city in the entire country, you have a bunch of fucking drug addicts that you got to deal with somehow. So it's not like there's lack of demand for it.
Yeah, and it's well, I mean, because otherwise, like when people are on probation or in these situations, you call in every day. You've got a color. You call in and they say, okay, well, yeah, today color's red. Well, if you're red, you come in and drop. So this is ways they deal with it. Also, I know Nick has said like his case is over. I mean, I know he's acting like it's practically over. He's in the home stretch, but it's a long home stretch. The agency has allowed the children to be in the home. They're doing a trial visitation, which means they're there for an extended period of time. But the moment something happens, like let's say Alicia Sweeps shows up and she finds a pile of coke somewhere. Kids are out, no questions asked. They don't have to go to court. They don't have to do anything. The kids are immediately removed, no issues. The agency still controls the kids. They're basically kind of got them like held by their shirt collar.
Well, it's like probation
And
for the kids. Kind
more or less.
They have custody, but they're able to stay at the house for however long before custody is returned.
And you can call it, in some states, they'll call it protective supervision, whatever it is. And the agency has the right to supervise and look after the children. And if something happens, they can immediately ratchet it up, and then they'll go to court and deal with it.
Yeah.
So that's how that works.
Yeah, it's just a shame that the whole ordeal of regaining custody isn't really about the kids as much as it is like, let's epically own people on the internet. I don't really get the sense that like he's it just feels so petty. Like everything that he strives for and endeavors for right now just seems like the most petty shit on the fucking planet.
Well, I mean, for him, that this is his entire world right now. So anywhere you can get the win is where you'll get the win, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Even if it's just delaying a recording of a hearing as opposed to having it written.
I mean, when you're in a situation and things are tight, a dub is a dub. Anonymous says maybe Nick is camera shy because he thought Dad went to a traffic hearing. Also, hello, Chief Janny Jersh.
Hello.
Johnny Rocket says, which of you two hogs is fatter? I bet I'm fatter.
Oh, by quite a margin.
Don't worry. That said, though, when you're walking down the streets, they go, look, do they like, are you an American? It's like, because you're fat.
I mean, you would be surprised how fucking fat people are these days.
Really?
All over. Yeah. People are really fat.
No. I'm just used to watching the people getting drone striked in Ukraine aren't too fat, so.
Well, I mean, there are fat people in Ukraine. I don't know if they've lost weight because of the war.
No.
My fear is that I'll return to the U.S. and go to Walmart, and there won't be any more fat people in scooters because they just get shit ordered to them now.
Yeah. No, there's still a lot of fat people there. There's still a lot of fat people at Walmart. Trust me.
Not the super fat ones. I bet the ones that are like 600 pounds. They don't do that anymore. They just get groceries delivered. We've lost the pace of Americana because part of the joy of being in the U.S. was going to Walmart and seeing the people way, way, way fat ordering, like checking out with like multiple gallons of like Mountain Dew and shit. That's a part of the experience of living in the country. What's the point?
Yes, and very stretched out yoga pants while they're doing it. Malcolm X says is catering around the John Cena defense. Your Honor, you can't see me. Maybe he's going to try it. Limon Man says, the friendship ended with rackets. Now Sean is KF's best lawyer friend. Well, I don't even know
you're a favorite on the site now.
Well, I have a page, but I would argue in my page, in the first couple of pages, I've had more people talk shit about me than Nick did. It's like, I'm on there, but I have enough people who, and most of people get mad. They're like, oh, you shouldn't look. I'm like, yes, but I think if there's valid critique, I think you can take from it. Just like pull up, that's a valid critique.
Yeah, that's a skill. If you're online, I've said this before, but if you're online, you have to kind of learn to parse through it because there is valid critique, and then there's also people who are just like dicks and they are just arguing in bad faith or upset about something else and they try to like mask it. So it's something you have to learn with experience.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw this before, Noel, but I think Nick's past the pull-up part, though, and we're at this part.
Chaff, flare, out, chaff, flare, low, jammer.
It's we're past pulling up. We're trying to dodge missiles. For him,
dodge terrain. There's more of that.
Well, that too.
Nobody's shooting missiles at him. He thinks that he's under attack from me because I'm trying to get public documents, but really he's careened to the fucking ground, and now he's upset that people are that the Federal Aviation Agency is like picking through the parts. Like, hey, that's my rubble. That's my plane. You can't do that.
Yes,
like, motherfucker, you crashed.
No, it's still good. That's where I sit. Grassroots hegemon. Yeah. Grassroots hegemon says if we do get to go to court, everyone should wear a white posse suit and a Medicare hat. That would be funny.
The Battle of Candy, Ohio County. Yeah.
That would be awesome. Yeah. Will Heron again says, hello, Josh.
Oh.
Red Fox says, Jersh.
Oh.
Yes. And Justin Wright says, breaking news, the female Secret Service agent abandons post to breastfeed at Trump, North Carolina event last night. What? I hope that's a joke.
Yeah, I imagine that's
Yeah.
probably
Johnny
federal
says-
agents probably get maternity leave. I have a sneaking suspicion.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. So, maybe she was like doing her like side hustle lactation fetish thing, which you never know. You never know. Johnny Rocket says, can either of you touch your toes? Not from the standing position, no.
I can.
So
I'm very
guess you got me
flexible.
there. Guess
I
you
can
got
put
me.
my foot up to it's in the back of my head.
That makes you very popular in Europe.
Hey.
Hey, I'm just saying, I know how it is over there. Rick Nikita says, you ever see a fatberg? And then Johnny Rocket for $10 saying, Jason Close, username Queerist, is a convicted PDF. One of Kiwi Farms was active users for 5 years. I'm glad you're mauling and screaming here, and you're paying for it. Thank you. I appreciate that, Johnny. You can go back to Next Locals and hang out with them there too. The content lasagna says, who got felted faster, Nick, Dickers, RTU, or Ralph?
God, I'm not too familiar with Dickers, but Nick crashed pretty fast.
Yeah.
Ralph took twice as long. It wasn't as much of a fall either.
Yeah. Well, remember though, we haven't really gotten to the point where it's done, so you don't really know. We have to look back. I mean, it's like you're watching the plane crash as it's happening. Like, how bad is it? Well, we don't know yet. WMA scene says the body cam will be the 5K gift. That would be brilliant. That would be a god tier move.
It's too clever.
Yes. John T for $20 says, I'm an actual practicing attorney. Much respect out there. Instead of a Baldo wearing whiskey licking one. Found you both from the casino. You both rule. Josh, you are right on with your rumor argument, prima facie, from what I can see. Go for it.
I am. Watch me. Watch me.
Watch me go. Nick says, honey, did you put the China White in with the China cabinet?
Oh, the China White. Is that that's a new one. There's so many fun words for drugs.
Well, yes, but China White is not. China White's heroin, not necessarily cocaine. So, actually, hold on here. This is what Cerebral Parasite says, and thank you again for all your membership donos right there. Says, do you think Nick's parents are horrified to find out what a huge pile of shit Nick turned out to be? I mean, I think any parent would be horrified to find out all this happened. I mean, really, I think most parents would be.
Yeah, especially if you thought that they were doing well. Like, oh, he's 40, he's married, he has 5 kids, he's an attorney, he does like a popular show, he's like a celebrity. Oh no, he's addicted to coke. Oh
yeah. No, like my parents, like I said, my parents are like, yeah, we're kind of like, not really. They're not surprised, but that's like I said, they've already come to expect things, so it's all right. The Demon Psychiatrist for $7.77 says, I'm going to read Ayn Rand and pretend I have no problems. Tonner Nick. Oh. Linda Richards says, is that a killdozer behind me? Yes, it is. Awesome. Well, thank you. Yeah. Somebody 3D printed me one. And that's going to be, because I do the model streams every once in a while. I found a Komatsu bulldozer model, and I'm going to build it up and make a killdozer out of it.
That's a good idea.
Yes, I think it'll be great. I'll mail it to Granby, Colorado. It's like, here's a diorama. Kaleidoscope says, now that Erin has been gone for a while, does anyone know if Kayla went back to having an affair with the guy she met during the Depp trial? What? I don't know about that. I mean, I thought I knew the lore.
Is he referring to the boob masseuse? Was that the story that came out during the death trial?
I don't know. Did it? Maybe. I'm not sure. Yeah. Say apoptosis for 00 says former Clevelander here. I escaped to better weather. Oh, lucky you. I appreciate your analysis. Good to hear you both on stream. Well, thank you. Otto gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, Otto. Privacy says great stream. Thank you. The Shadow of Humanity says, Sean, you're actually cool. Sean, it's like, I don't know about that, but I appreciate the thought. Parallax says, send a DM about Nick's Provigil. Oh, okay. So Nick has told the story where he mixed Provigil with his alcohol. His dad asked him what was wrong with him, and that was how he found out you can't. So his dad has seen him intoxicated. Yeah, and if that was a one-off thing, though, that's not where I'm going to be like, all right, throw dad rackets in the jail. Like, we got a perjury case. Like, no.
Yeah, is that that seems like an accident the way you
or it's one time. And I know other people, I think on the forums were like, well, he lied. It's like, guys, perjury is very hard to charge somebody with because all they have to say is, I forgot, or sorry, I'm a big retard. My bad. And you know how many times you can use that as an answer? 1 million. It's very hard to convict someone on perjury charges. It's a very, very hard offense to get at any level. Caleb Burke for Canadian money here, saying 5 loonies, saying, regarding the jail in Minnesota, I had one in my divorce that my ex was ordered to pay for. I got full custody of our son and was allowed to move. I forgot about the pores. Well, there you very, very, yes.
Divorce Chad, stay winning.
Yes, pinky up. Congrats.
Okay, it's really early here.
Yeah.
Is there anything that's like directed at me that I should
no, I think we're all caught up here. Oh, hold on here. Holy shit. Is this the Argentinian pesos?
Yeah, that's the Argentinian pesos.
Thank you, Tomas.
That's $5.30 for the big red boy.
That's what I was about to say. How much is it? Because once all this concludes, where do you see Nick going? Will he a boogie-style pathetic husk of his former self that tries to cling on? Or will he strap on his baldo and ride April into the sunset? I don't know. I mean, remember, though, there's always a way, like, people are good at reinventing themselves, so who knows what will happen from here. I mean, we aren't done as part of the issue. We're like Sarah Connor in Terminator. Like, the road is long and unknown.
A lot of possibilities for fucking everything up even worse.
Well, there's that too. Judy Tester says, Thursday Null stream, truly we have been blessed. Yeah. So Null, thank you. I know it's late where you're at, so thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, take care, Null. Guys, Null, Joshua Moon of the Kiwi Farms, a website. You may have heard of it.
Thanks. Take it easy.
Take care. Bye, Null. All right, guys, we're almost wrapping up here because we got to get ready for the Thursday night show. And if you guys are new, we do a Thursday night show every Thursday night. So like this Thursday night, yes, at 9:30. And there's all kinds of cool shit to talk about tonight. We're going to be talking about apparently the Kiwi Farms now are stalkers. Memes are actually hurting the earth. We talked about it last night a little bit. The Disney Plus lawsuit. The UK has been threatening to extradite people for using memes here in America and for using bad words. Justin Timberlake's DUI case actually might be not looking too bad for him. And then Matthew Perry, if you guys remember him, the actor, there have been federal indictments handed out regarding the medical personnel supervising him prior to his death. So there's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Also, Tomasi made my dad was wondering when someone would do this with the Argentinian pesos. Kaleidoscope says, not the massage guy, the guy she met playing the Star Trek game. Okay. I've heard that before, but I didn't Yeah, I wasn't sure about that, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe is Noel right? Yeah, really, that is only $5.30. That's awesome. So I don't know about that one. And the WMAC now says, should Nick rush the Boogie fake cancer arc for pity? No, there's other things. Nick just needs to get out. Nick needs to get out. Yes, pull up. Yeah, punching out. Okay. Augustin says, suck Josh's ass harder. See if I care. Well, you might care. I don't know. How hard do you want me to suck his ass? Can't spell cuck without UK. It's funny you two made it red. I know. Normally you could kind of tell how much some of these currencies are because YouTube codes them right, but with the pesos, it does not care. Imagine super chatting just to see you. Well, people do. It's just oy vey. Oy vey. Oh, let's see here. Where are... extraditing people over to the UK for being rude online doesn't sound very net zero. It doesn't. Yes. It's not. It's not very... That would be hilarious. You're like, but you're going to burn fossil fuel to come get me. And they're going to go... They're like, fuck, we can't get them. Who said sandwich first, Sean? I don't know, but I took the first bite. I drew the first bite, chat. So that's all that matters. Panther Dude says, who brought the sandwiches? I don't know, but I like I said, I took the first bite. Ham? No, I do not like ham. Ham sandwiches are not the best. Like, I'll eat ham if it's available, but there's a lot of other things I would eat before ham. I would eat peanut butter and jelly before ham. Where are... That's a shame for 199 says here to Steve. No, funny. D there says if you're looking for a sandwich, too late. Sean was here. I know. That's... You could tell the crumbs of my passing. That's how you can tell I've been there. Blue Fire says if Nick ever has you on again, you got to ask him about the body cam footage. Well, there's a bunch of questions I want to ask him before we even get to that one. So, yeah, Justice Smith says you were absolutely bullshit lying. Fuck off. And I think with that, guys, we are going to end it here. So, yes, it's very interesting that Nick is camera shy now, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see if he wants to change that or if he's willing to. Yeah, we'll find out. I keep Subway in business. Ooh, there are better places than Subway to go. Ew. So I will see you guys at 9:30, and we're going to take a little break and reload and kind of get ready. So until then, chat, take care until next time. And once again, when there's another interesting matter of public record attached, we will be here to cover it. Or when there's another interesting motion from Nick's counsel, we'll cover it too. Although the one thing I will comment on, we are still less than a week out from the Omnibus hearing. We haven't seen any motions to dismiss, motions to suppress. I'm surprised those don't come out yet. You seem like those would be needing to get filed so both parties can respond to them. But hey, what do I know? Maybe there's a rule on that, but surprised we haven't seen it. Anyways, take care, chat, and I will see you guys in about an hour. Bye now.
Weapons, blacksmithing, and models of planes. esoteric works, and even some trains. Much merriment had while drinking White Claws, tips on hunting, and even talking the law. Whatever you do, just don't talk to cops, even when they nab you on illegal stops. Just 'cause you did it doesn't mean you're guilty, but please talk to a local attorney. Was that the fat guy that Kaden yelled at? Why, yes it was. He even knows he's